Long Chen repeatedly grabbed 7 runes, learning 7 different flame magical arts. There were defensive ones, offensive ones, single-target ones, and large-area ones. This made Long Chen ecstatic. He had his pill god memories, which made him a pro at controlling flames. Cultivating flame magical arts was as easy as eating food to him. Furthermore, these magical arts were so powerful that they surpassed his expectations. His flagging confidence once more increased. The 9-star Hegemon Body Art's 5th pill formula still hadn't come to him. Therefore, he had no way of condensing the 5th star and was stuck at the 4th star. Once he had arrived at the Central Plains, he found that his trump cards were far from enough. Although the 3rd form of Split the Heavens Divine Runes had been fully condensed, raising its power to a shocking point, it was too exhausting, and he was unable to instantly unleash it like the 1st and 2nd forms. Against an opponent around the same level as him, unleashing it would be extremely difficult. But now it was different. He had learned many flame magical arts and was capable of attacking and defending. He would no longer have to always fight head-on. Raging flames devour the heavens. Long Chen formed hand seals, and flames erupted out of him, filling the entire world. Damn, what a huge attack area, and what supreme density. However, it's also exhausting. Hee, but once Hua Long and I work together, with my ocean's worth of spiritual yuan, we should be able to keep it up for a long time. Long Chen laughed wickedly. There were actually many magical arts named something along the lines of raging flames devour the heavens. But they weren't magical arts that could really devour the heavens. Long Chen's estimate was that if he went all out with it, the flame domain would cover 300 miles. Compared to those magical arts only capable of covering a range of a few hundred meters, this was truly devouring the heavens. Furthermore, he had noticed a secret. The runes here with a darker color were stronger. For example, this raging flames devour the heavens was a dark red. After learning it, he didn't bother with the ordinary runes any longer. He searched for a dark rune again. This strange space seemed to have no end, like the starry sky. As he swam through this space, countless runes flew by him. Long Chen was shocked to see so many magical arts. These were all flame-related. The Xiantian catalog was terrifying. It was no wonder there were so many disciples in the Xiantian Dao sect, and why it was all-encompassing. It was due to the Xiantian catalog. Another powerful rune. Long Chen suddenly saw another dark red rune. Its color was the same as the raging flames devour the heavens. He was just about to touch it when he suddenly saw a rune that was an even darker color. It was blood red. And its bright color was dazzling to the eye. That one's definitely even more badass. Long Chen charged over to it. On the way to the rune, his heart skipped a beat. This rune was definitely a supremely powerful magical art. Just as he was about to touch it, his eyes suddenly narrowed. Just a bit further than this rune was another rune that was even darker red. It was practically turning violet. Furthermore, the space around it was shuddering. Seeing that rune, Long Chen's heart stopped beating. That's definitely a priceless treasure. A greedy roar came from the depths of Long Chen's soul. His see a treasure and can't walk away disease once more erupted out of his control. Long Chen didn't even know how he had arrived in front of that rune. When he was right in front of it, his hair stood on end. He sensed a terrifying destructive aura within this rune. It was like a volcano on the verge of exploding. Once touched, it could destroy heaven and earth. I wouldn't die from this, right? Long Chen was uncertain now. He sensed a fatal danger that was too terrifying. This is the Xiantian catalog, a place for disciples to cultivate. There shouldn't be any danger. Long Chen carefully extended a finger. At the same time, he summoned the green dragon battle armor, raising his defense as high as possible. The tip of his finger touched the violet red rune. Buzz. Crap. Long Chen's expression completely changed, and he hastily retreated. But it was too late. The violet red rune transformed into a ball which then exploded. Long Chen was struck by its shockwaves, and he felt like his body was about to be instantly torn apart. In fact, he seemed to be able to see his body being blown to bits. I died. Long Chen let out a startled cry as the space before him disappeared. He returned to within the ghost prison. He panted for breath. His clothes were drenched in sweat, and his face was pale. A wave of weakness washed over him, almost causing him to collapse. Fuck, that was too realistic. I really thought I was dead. Long Chen sighed and wiped off some cold sweat. He took out another gold coin. Who can tell me how many days it has been? Long Chen quickly learned the reply. It was already the 8th day, so he only had 2 days left. Time's tight. Long Chen took a deep breath and once more found that line. His mind sank into it again, and he returned to the world of flames. Now he realized that this was not his true self. Although he could use blood drinker and magical arts here, he had lost his connection to the primal chaos bead. His guess was that the Xiantian catalog had replicated his body, but it was unable to replicate the primal chaos bead. That made him feel like he was here in his true body. That feeling of being killed just now had been too realistic. Even though he hadn't died, he felt like he had half died. When he once more arrived in front of the violet-red rune, he completely focused himself. He slowly reached a finger toward it. Once more there was an explosion, and he was blown apart again. He returned to within the ghost prison, covered in sweat. The feeling of death really isn't good. Long Chen took a deep breath and charged back into that space, once more touching the violet-red rune. The violet-red rune only expressed the principles behind it for 1,000th of the blink of an eye right before exploding. It happened so fast that even Long Chen was unable to grasp it. Furthermore, there was also the fear of death. Even knowing that this was an illusion, it was too realistic, and anyone would find it hard to overcome their nervousness at dying once more. Boom. Long Chen was once more killed. But this time, he didn't reappear in the ghost prison, but inside a large and tidy room. Atop a rug, there was a simple table with a few cups of tea on it. The Shen master was currently leisurely drinking some tea. Long Chen wiped off some sweat and walked right over to the table. Sitting on his butt, he poured a cup of tea for himself and swallowed it in one gulp. Just 1 cup wasn't enough, and he drank 3 cups before feeling slightly better. Sensing there were also some refreshments on the table, he didn't stand on courtesy and directly stuffed his mouth. Seeing Long Chen acting like this was his home, the Shen master was speechless. Just how taut had his nerves been for him to act so unbridled? He was the sect master, but Long Chen didn't act the slightest bit restrained in front of him. He had never seen such a disciple, nor had he ever heard of one. How moving, to eat and drink to prove I am alive. Long Chen sighed deeply with a joyful expression. The Shen master didn't mind Long Chen's lack of courtesy. In reality, he was shocked by Long Chen's perseverance. The feeling of dying in the Xiantian catalog was so realistic that it caused people to easily crumble. In just 1 day, Long Chen experienced what it felt like to die hundreds of times. Any disciple would go insane after just experiencing it for a few times. That meant Long Chen's willpower had reached a shocking level. "How were your gains?" asked the Shen master with a smile. Long Chen hastily stood up and bowed toward him, respectfully saying, "Many thanks for your help, Shen master." The Shen master shook his head. "This was just an opportunity. What you obtained was all thanks to yourself." "Can disciple gain another opportunity to comprehend the Xiantian catalog?" asked Long Chen carefully. "Even if you kill Fan Song and Hu Geishan, I won't give you this kind of punishment," said the Shen master. Long Chen immediately felt embarrassed. He hastily said, "Disciple's willfulness has brought you trouble. Whether or not you cause trouble isn't important. Rules are always biased toward the strong. If you weren't of benefit to the Xiantian Dao sect, you might already be dead," said the Shen master directly. Long Chen smiled slightly. "Disciple understands. I'm not someone to forget favors." The Shen master nodded. There was no need for him to beat around the bush with someone like Long Chen. "Leave Fan Song and Hu Geishan alive for me. I have some use for them." Long Chen was startled. He didn't quite understand what the Shen master was saying. On the surface, he just meant that Long Chen shouldn't kill the two of them. Disciple understands. Long Chen didn't dare to ask too many questions. This time, the infernal devil abyss's disturbance is very out of the ordinary. It might continue like this for a while, and Jade Core experts are unable to enter. So the infernal devil abyss's defenses are mostly up to you younger disciples. There is a time and place for internal battles, but this is not it. The reason the Dao sect gives you so many points for defending it is because it doesn't want to activate the stronghold's defenses. That uses up far too many resources. So Long Chen, be aware of what is important and what is not, warned the Xian master. Don't worry, disciple will remember your favor. I'll try not to drown you in trouble, said Long Chen. But he only said he would try. If those two idiots did something to make his fury go out of his control, even he didn't know what he might do. Xian master, can disciple ask you a few questions? Asked Long Chen suddenly. Go ahead. Where do those devil beasts keep coming from? Infernal devil abyss. Is there really such a thing as hell? Asked Long Chen cautiously. The so-called hell said in stories is just a name. In reality, it is a spatial crevice between two worlds. It is the crossing zone between the martial heaven continent and the netherworld. Some creatures that die will have their souls drawn into the netherworld. The Xian master suddenly shut his mouth when he reached this point. I can't tell you too much right now. With your current power, touching the heavenly Daos too early will draw karma for you. Long Chen's heart shook. The netherworld? Wasn't that a place of stories, where souls went after a person died? The devil beasts you fight in the infernal devil abyss are life forms that exist in the crevice between two worlds. The martial heaven continent actually has countless spatial channels. The various large powers are all guarding those channels secretly. So although this world seems very peaceful, in reality, there is a great deal of internal trouble and external enemies. Fortunately, the devil beasts that come from there have a trace of Yuan's spiritual energy in their crystal cores. We can purify them to help foundation forging disciples cultivate. Once you kill the devil beasts, people will come to clean up the battlefield and gather their crystal cores. They'll give them to the sect to be refined, and a portion of them will be available for sale to foundation forging disciples, while a portion will be put out for sale to other sections. It can be said that defending the infernal devil abyss has its drawbacks and advantages. It is a responsibility and a burden, but also good work. Disciple understands. Xian master, can disciple brazenly ask you something? Said Long Chen after a long moment of hesitation. For even you to say that it's brazen, it seems it must not be small. Ask, said the Xian master, involuntarily laughing. For Long Chen to say he was about to do something brazen was almost a joke. Long Chen couldn't help being embarrassed. But he thickened his skin and said, Forgive disciple for his rudeness, but I want to know, if someone covets my secrets in the Dao sect, will you, the Xian master, come out and protect me? Although he didn't know what the Xian master was thinking, he could sense his good intentions. The 9-star Hegemon body art definitely wouldn't make such a mistake. However, even if he had good intentions, Long Chen needed a promise from him. Otherwise, he would have no confidence in an existence that he couldn't comprehend. People like him schemed so deeply. Long Chen was too lazy to do the same thing. The Xian master smiled. Don't worry, as long as the Dao sect is within your heart and you don't betray the sect, then let alone someone in the Xiantian Dao sect. Even if someone in the martial heaven continent dares to touch you, I will help. Many thanks, Xian master. Long Chen was delighted, and he respectfully bowed. For the Xian master to say that he would personally help meant that even if the Xiantian Dao sect was unable to help him in name due to its politics, the Xian master himself would come out. That was what made him the most grateful, as well as what raised his confidence the most. This was the thing that had made him the happiest since arriving in the Central Plains. He immediately felt much more assured. Xian master, I have 2 brothers and a lover. They are still in the Xiantian catalog comprehending their Dao paths. The Xiantian catalog is actually a transformed portion of the heavenly Daos. A person will only get one chance to comprehend the Xiantian catalog in their lifetime. They are searching for their own inheritances within the Xiantian catalog. It is an immense opportunity, but once they come out, they won't be able to go back in. Most people are unable to enter the actual catalog when comprehending it, but you repeatedly entered over and over. Now, your fate with it has come to an end. It's not that I don't want to allow you to enter again, but that you can't, explained the Xian master. Only now did Long Chen understand that things in the Xiantian catalog weren't as simple as he had thought. He couldn't help but feel regretful that he hadn't obtained any lightning inheritance. Seeing that there was nothing more to ask, he bid farewell to the Xian master and left. When he left his door, he realized he was in the inner sect plaza. He didn't even know where the Xian master's private room was. When he appeared in the plaza, all the people there jumped in fright. Long Chen ignored those people and returned directly to Crouching Dragon Mountain. Once he was there, all of Crouching Dragon Mountain erupted into wild cheering. Only then did Long Chen learn that the Dragonblood Legion had taken first place in the competition. Each 9th-rank Devil Beast was equivalent to 10 million points, which shocked Long Chen. The 9th-rank Devil Beasts he had killed had added up to 400 million points. Adding on the Devil Beasts slain by others, they almost reached 600 million and placed first. Second place was the Heaven Female Alliance. They had half their number of points. The reason they had taken second was all because of Long Chen. He had killed quite a few of the top experts of the Flame Gate, Divine Beast Mansion, and Hegemon Hall. Once they were killed, the points they had earned were gone as well. Third place was the 10,000 Insect Guild. Fourth was the Divine Beast Mansion. Fifth was the Hegemon Hall, and last was the Flame Gate. The Flame Gate's leader, Kei Xinyan, had been killed by Long Chen. The Flame Gate had disbanded, which caused all its disciples to be dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do. Other than the Dragonblood Legion, Heaven Female Alliance, and 10,000 Insect Guild, everyone else was full of worry. This time, Long Chen had been too vicious. He had completely crippled the other three factions. Now, the Dragonblood Legion's name was soaring, and Long Chen's name shook the entire Xiantian Dao sect. Countless people had heard of how he had repeatedly killed 6 rank 5 Celestials on the battlefield, but they didn't dare to believe it. But after accumulating a mass of proof, they were forced to believe it. Now that Long Chen had returned to Crouching Dragon Mountain after 10 days, it caused an uproar in the entire sect. Even Hua Xiyu and Wang Zhen came over to celebrate. Hua Xiyu also brought her sincere thanks. If it hadn't been for the Dragonblood Legion's help, her Heaven Female Alliance's losses would have been even more appalling. When Hua Xiyu led her Heaven Female Alliance to Crouching Dragon Mountain, it evoked passionate cheering from the Dragonblood Legion. The Heaven Female Alliance received the warmest welcome possible. Long Chen had Guoran arrange a grand bonfire party, and he also had Wang Zhen call over his disciples for the fun. Wang Zhen was a man of few words, but he actually wasn't antisocial. He directly brought all his people over to party. They had so many points that they bought all the best wine and food. In the Xiantian Dao sect, as long as you had points, you could get anything. Tens of thousands of men and women drank and ate, laughed and talked. It was exceptionally lively. They were no longer as foreign or cold as when they had first joined the sect. Long Chen, Hua Xiyu was profoundly grateful. I like to be straightforward, so you don't need to keep thanking me. Long Chen knew what she was about to say. The Dragonblood Legion's warriors do what they want. Even if the same thing happened again, even if they knew the results, they would make the same choice. So you don't need to feel bad. Their choice was right, and even if they fell, they've passed their aspirations and dreams to their living brothers. We'll bring their dreams forward for them. Long Chen offered a bowl of wine to Hua Xiyu while raising one of his own. Hua Xiyu nodded. But she hesitated for a long while when she looked at that wine. In the end, she took a sip, and as a result, her face immediately turned red. She clearly had no alcohol tolerance. Brother Long, let me offer you a bowl as well. I, Wang Zhen, have never admired anyone, but when it comes to you, I can't not admire you. Wang Zhen also raised his cup. Drink, drink. Long Chen touched his bowl to Wang Zhen's. This wine contained great medicinal energy. It was a kind of medicinal wine, and the best kind at that. It was greatly beneficial to cultivators, and it cost 100 points just for one bottle. If they weren't rich, no one could afford to drink it. Brother Wang Zhen, you're too modest. If you went all out, Then perhaps there would be no one amongst all the disciples capable of beating you, said Long Chen. Wang Zhen was startled. Brother Long, what are you talking about? Long Chen smiled. Although I'm not an insect cultivator, I know the small insects you've summoned are just the troops. Your true trump card should be the mother insect you're raising. We've all exposed our trump cards, but you've never revealed yours. That means you're the strongest amongst us. Due to this, let me offer you another drink. Hua Xiyu was startled. She hadn't even thought of that. But as soon as Long Chen said it, she looked from Wang Zhen in shock to Long Chen with admiration. Wang Zhen had truly hidden himself well. Brother Long, you must not know this. While I do have a mother insect, I cannot use it until the point of no return. The mother insect is something I raised from the moment it was born, and it is connected to my soul. Although it is powerful, once injured, I will also have to pay a great price. Most importantly, if it dies, I would die with it. Although I have this trump card, I can't use it, so it's no different from not having a trump card. Wang Zhen bitterly smiled. Beside Long Chen, Tang Wan'er said, so it's your final trump card? Then it must be extremely terrifying. It was unknown if it was due to his expert's pride or because he had drunk too much wine, but Wang Zhen said, if I truly summoned the mother insect, those devil beasts we encountered would have all been annihilated. But after that, I would be in trouble. At the very least, I would be bedridden for half a year to a year. Even a rank 4 celestial would be able to crush me then. His prideful expression turned bitter toward the end. Having a powerful trump card but not being able to use it was even more painful than not having a trump card. Long Chen wasn't in the habit of asking people for their secrets, so he changed the subject. They drank all the way until the sun rose once more before they finally scattered, wishing they could continue. After a true life and death battle, people would realize things they hadn't before. When they thought about the value of their lives, fighting and scheming against each other seemed like such senseless games. After this night of drinking, the 3 factions experts had formed much better relationships. When the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild left, Long Chen summoned all the warriors of the Dragon Blood Legion. He had an extremely important matter to announce. All the Dragon Mark warriors were gathered. The gathering point was Crouching Dragon Mountain's personal training room. Gu Yang, Tang Wan'er, Guo Ran, Li Qi, and Song Mingyuan were all sent to the entrance as guards. No one could enter. This room had been completely sealed. The Dragon Blood Legion's members had never seen Long Chen so solemn before. Once everything was prepared, and confirming there was nothing they had overlooked, Long Chen took out a large pile of fruit and distributed it. The Dragon Mark warriors stared blankly at the fruit. They didn't understand what he was doing. They didn't know that what Long Chen was distributing to them were rank 4 Heavenly Dao fruits. In the Eastern Wasteland, he had given all his Heavenly Dao fruits to Yu Shaoqian. These Heavenly Dao fruits were new ones that had just grown. This was the Primal Chaos Bead's terrifying ability. As his cultivation base increased, any celestials that died beside Long Chen would have their Heavenly Dao energy absorbed by the Primal Chaos Space's Heavenly Dao tree. He had over 10,000 rank 4 Heavenly Dao fruits. Long Chen had been hesitating over this for a while now. There were over 10,000 Dragon Mark warriors, all who were rank 3 celestials at the strongest, and some who were still rank 2. For them to all become rank 4 celestials overnight was far too exaggerated, and people would definitely investigate. Then his heaven-defying ability to create celestials would be exposed. Countless people would set their gazes on him, which was an extremely dangerous situation. But there had been such a huge accident in the competition this time. Over a dozen Dragon Mark warriors had sacrificed themselves. That made Long Chen feel some guilt. If he could have distributed the Heavenly Dao fruits earlier, perhaps those people wouldn't have died. So after their deaths, he had decided to stop holding back. But then he had been immediately sent to the ghost prison. Now he had obtained the Shen Master's promise, and he was even more sure. He would bring all the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors to the 4th rank. Today's matter must be kept completely secret. Long Chen only spoke a simple warning before leaving. The Dragon Mark warriors didn't understand, But the Dragon Blood warriors had already started devouring their heavenly Tao fruits and refining their energy. The Dragon Mark warriors uncomprehendingly consumed their heavenly Tao fruits. Following that, expressions of disbelief appeared. Long Chen called over Tang Wan'er and the others, taking out rank 5 heavenly Tao fruits. Seeing those, Gu Yang and the others had excited expressions. If they could also become rank 5 celestials, they would be on the same level as Hu Guishan and Fan Song. Boss, I don't need it. Becoming a rank 5 celestial isn't that useful to me, said Guoran. Long Chen smiled slightly and patted Guoran on the shoulder. This little fellow was at least growing more thoughtful. Then, I don't need mine either. It's not that useful, said Li Qi. As a result, the others all said that they didn't need theirs. Long Chen smiled and said, it's fine, just take them. The 6 heavenly Tao fruits I have are exactly perfect. There are 5 of you here, and the remaining one is perfect for Meng Qi. Zifeng walks the sword Tao and doesn't want to rely on heavenly Tao energy to cultivate, while Wild also does not walk the ordinary path. These 6 are perfect. Ah, then I won't stand on courtesy. To tell the truth, a rank 5 celestial is really eye-catching. I've wanted such a thing for a long time. Guoran laughed mischievously. A wretched smile appeared on his face. The others were also at ease to hear this and consumed their fruit. They were filled with a grand feeling. Now, who in the Xiantian Dao sect would dare to block their growth? Once Tang Wan'er and the others entered seclusion as well, he guarded the outside on his own. He closed his eyes and slowly formed a hand seal. But he hadn't even finished forming the hand seal before he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Fuck, just what magical art was that final rune? Why does it cause such a huge backlash? Long Chen cursed. He had experienced the pain of dying so many times to finally remember how to use the magical art, but as soon as he tried circulating his flames according to the technique, he felt like his body would explode. Even his previous injuries were affected. This is no good. I need some stronger trees, or it'll be too difficult for me to heal next time, sighed Long Chen. Last time, the powerful backlash of pushing the raging flame prison too far had caused an intense injury, and then he had forcibly suppressed his injuries to kill Kei Xinyan and the others. He had even used the 3rd form of Split the Heavens twice. It had been especially dangerous when he had been attacked by a rank 6 Foundation Forging Celestial. Those injuries had caused his body to almost break down. The heavenly Tao energy in his injuries made it difficult for him to heal. Even after this many days, his healing was extremely slow. He was too weak, and there was no way for him to train in such a terrifying magical art. I have to think of something. 3 days later, some Dragon Blood warriors finally came out of seclusion. Having advanced to the 4th rank, they felt like they had completely transformed and were full of excitement. Long Chen had those disciples guard the others. No one was permitted to approach this place. After that, he went directly to Treasure Gem Island. As soon as he arrived, he caused a huge uproar. Long Chen ignored those people and went straight to the 10,000 pill hall. Once he arrived, he saw the same maiden he had seen last time. Your senior apprentice brother Long Chen. The maiden was shocked. Hee, now that Luo Bo's been expelled, it seems you have it much better here. Long Chen saw that her robes were a bit different. There were some threads of gold in her collar and sleeves. He didn't know the details, but she had definitely been promoted. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, do you need anything? After a moment of stunned shock, she quickly calmed down. Long Chen smiled. As expected, after just being promoted, a person would become much more cautious. She didn't even mention what had happened last time. Let me see a list of what tree seeds you have, said Long Chen directly. Please wait a moment. She quickly found a thick tome and handed it to Long Chen with both hands. Long Chen went through it. This tome recorded the seeds of medicinal ingredients they had and was ordered from low to high. But the number of tree seeds that could be used as medicine was not high. Furthermore, even fewer of them were those that could grow to a great height. Long Chen had no way around that. As long as there was a chance, he had to take it. He had no time to go looking for trees. Iron spruce oak. Long Chen's eyes suddenly brightened. The iron spruce oak was an extremely large tree. It contained a kind of bitter spirit essence that made it a supplementary ingredient in some 8th-tier medicinal pills. It wasn't particularly precious and was just 200 points. However, he knew that it could grow to become 10,000 meters tall, while its main trunk would become thick and solid. Most importantly, its wood was hard like iron, and its tree heart could be used to refine treasure-class bows. The other thing was that it grew extremely slowly. It would take tens or even hundreds of thousands of years to fully mature. That was what Long Chen cared about the most. His experience was that the harder the wood and the longer it took to mature, the more life energy it could store. "Give me 10 of these." Long Chen took out his crystal card, and someone quickly came over with a jade case. Long Chen had just touched it when a large hand grabbed it. Long Chen looked up to see someone wearing elder robes. At some unknown time, he had appeared behind the maiden and grabbed the jade case. They still haven't learned their lesson? Blood-colored light flashed at that elder's neck. He hastily shot back in shock. Although he had reacted timely, a line of blood still appeared on his neck. That was the injury from the tip of Long Chen's saber. If it hadn't been for his quick reactions, his head would have been removed from his body. The maidens in this room all let out startled cries. They hadn't expected Long Chen to almost kill an elder just now. "How brazen, Long Chen!" "You dash," roared the elder. "Shut up. Have you forgotten what happened to Luobo? If you want to play with me, I'll play you to death." Long Chen grabbed the case. The reason he had paid first was precisely to avoid what had happened last time. But he hadn't expected it to really happen. The elder was clearly from the alchemy pavilion. Although he didn't know what excuse he had to make things hard on him, he had already paid, so that case was his. Whoever tried to take it was whoever would be hacked by his saber. Now Long Chen had learned how to play this game. Even if that elder's cries drew out the guards here, Long Chen had a leg to stand on. If someone wanted to take what was his, wasn't he allowed to act in self-defense? The elder's expression was exceedingly ugly. "What you? I'm warning you, if you want to reincarnate, you can become enemies with me. Miss, can you hand my crystal card back to me?" Long Chen turned to the maiden. Only then did she recover from her shock and pass it back to Long Chen. Taking it, Long Chen left without even looking at the elder. As expected, that person didn't cry for reinforcements or make the matter public. Long Chen returned directly to Crouching Dragon Mountain. After he arrived, he planted the iron spruce oak seeds in the primal chaos space and began circulating the primal chaos bead. The 10 seedlings began to crazily grow. 1 meter, 10 meters, 100 meters. When the iron spruce oaks grew to 1,500 meters, Long Chen extracted the life energy from one of them. He found that just this 1,500-meter iron spruce oak contained as much energy as the fully grown trees he had obtained from the spirit world. He directly removed all those trees and crazily planted the iron spruce oaks. Planting them with set distances between them, he filled the primal chaos space. But once the primal chaos space was filled with these new seedlings, the speed at which they grew sharply dropped. All the stock I saved up back then finally has a use. Long Chen took out huge corpses from his spatial ring, tossing them into the black soil. When crossing the martial heaven sea ring, Long Chen had obtained a huge pile of sea demon corpses. Now they finally had a use. He tossed them into the black soil. Like snow falling on lava, they rapidly dissolved. Endless life energy spread through the primal chaos space. As the iron spruce oaks crazily grew, Long Chen continuously tossed the sea demon corpses into the black soil as fertilizer. In less than an incense stick's time, the empty primal chaos space became filled with soaring iron spruce oaks. Each one of them had reached a height of 300 meters. In 2 hours, they had grown to 3,000 meters. Once Long Chen had used up all the corpses, they had grown to around 6,000 meters. At this moment, the life energy contained within them was over 10 times what his old trees had been able to contain. Not only did they have much stronger life energy, but also in terms of quality, they were dozens of times greater. He had made the right choice in choosing the iron spruce oaks. Just quantity wasn't enough to heal him in Long Chen's experience. That was especially true when the injury came from a rank 6 Celestial's attack. The heavenly Tao energy made his old trees completely ineffective. Now as he slowly extracted life energy from the iron spruce oaks, the results were practically miraculous. In just a few breaths, all his injuries were fully healed. As for the iron spruce oaks, they had only turned a bit listless. There were no signs of them withering. That delighted Long Chen. Right now, they had only grown to 6,000 meters. Once they were fully matured and reached a height of 10,000 meters, the life energy within them would be 10 times greater. Regretfully, it took too long to grow them. He had tossed in a mountain of corpses to nourish the trees, but they still hadn't reached their full maturity. He would have to think of something in the future. After healing, he found a training room for himself. This training room wasn't for cultivating but for training in a magical art and testing the magical art's power. This training room was of higher quality than a cultivation training room. Of course, the price was also greater. Long Chen was using the highest price training room, and it cost 10,000 points for a day. The training room had all kinds of puppets inside. They were created by the Xiantian Dao sect for its disciples. These puppets were used as targets to allow the disciples to test their power. They were split into C expansion and foundation forging levels. A disciple renting this room would be given 10 C expansion puppets and 2 foundation forging puppets for training purposes. But Long Chen tossed aside all those puppets and spent another 10,000 points to buy 10 jade core puppets. These puppets were very powerful, and when attacked, they would automatically activate their defenses. They were so strong that they should be able to receive a full-strength attack from an average jade core expert. Long Chen slowly formed hand seals. After the 7th hand seal, his left hand held his right elbow. His left hand's fingers changed color, like iron that was being heated, eventually turning semi-transparent. It was even possible to see energy slowly going through the 5 fingers into his right hand. At the center of his right hand, a sesame seed-sized flame crystal slowly formed. As soon as that crystal core appeared, its terrifying heat incinerated almost everything in the training room. Even the distant sea expansion puppets were starting to melt. The crystal began to slowly revolve, and as it did, flame energy wrapped around it. Its irregular body began to become round and spherical. A layer of flame energy covered the crystal. Now it was the size of a soybean. At this moment, the foundation forging puppets had runes come out of them and form a light barrier. The terrifying heat had activated their defenses. However, even with their defenses, in just a few breaths, the foundation forging puppets also began to melt. This training room has isolated quite a bit of flame energy, allowing me to control it easier. It was worth the price. Long Chen was delighted to see this. If he had tried using this move in the outside world, its effects would be too dangerous. It was the right choice to have come here. The training room blocked a portion of heaven and earth's flame energy, making it easier for him to control the magical art. He didn't need to be so worried. This was the final move he had learned in the Xiantian catalog. He had studied it and run simulations before, but he hadn't dared to try using it. But even just testing some of its aspects had been dangerous. He had been injured by the terrifying heat several times. This move was very complicated. It required spreading flame energy throughout 108 meridians, and then recombining them into 2 flows of energy. Those 108 streams of energy required a set order and technique. No 2 streams could touch. It was like circulating 108 streams of energy at the same time. And most difficult of all, at the same time as he condensed his right hand's energy, he had to control the output of his left hand's energy. The 108 streams of energy all went through the left hand into the right hand. The process required the 108 streams of energy to maintain certain speeds. It couldn't be too fast or slow. The slightest mistake would cause the crystal to explode. Furthermore, this was just the energy he was controlling in his body. He also had to control the energy in the air. Even Long Chen, someone who could boast to be unrivaled when it came to controlling flames, felt like he was walking on thin ice right now. If this crystal exploded in his hand, if he didn't immediately die a horrible death, he would at least lose half his body. But through his meticulous control, The 108 streams of energy entered his hand at a set pace. The crystal grew to the size of a longan fruit. That's about enough. For the first time, just pulling off this move would count as a success. Safety first. Although Long Chen felt like he could still continue, he felt like holding back a bit for his first try was best. Taking a deep breath, he cut off the energy. In that instant, the crystal suddenly unleashed blazing rays of light, seeming to come to life. Long Chen hastily tossed it out and involuntarily shouted a name, Star Fall. The small crystal was like a shooting star flying at the jade core puppets. Those puppets had long since had their defensive runes activate to form a runic shield. Boom! A huge explosion rocked the training room, and a terrifying energy erupted. Not good. Without hesitation, Long Chen summoned the green dragon battle armor. He had just summoned it when he felt like a mountain smashed into him, and he shot back. In the end, he felt a burst of pain from his back. He even heard his own bones breaking as he smashed into the wall of the training room. Now he also experienced what it felt like to be smashed into flatbread. Was this karma? Long Chen clearly felt that his body had been flattened. There were only a few parts of his bones that were still intact. He tore himself from the wall. The wall was completely undamaged by the explosion or the collision. It was no wonder the Shen Dao sect allowed its disciples to unleash huge moves inside. Circulating the primal chaos bead, his injuries instantly healed. Then he looked at the jade core puppets and saw they had been blown apart. There was nothing left of them. Damn, what a terrifying attack. This attack was something that could instantly kill kings. Long Chen hadn't expected this move to be so terrifying. It had to be known that he had only just learned it, so it was still in an embryonic form. Furthermore, he had intentionally reduced the power to be safe. Unfortunately, it's not too useful as it takes too long to use. Would any king really just stand there while I unleashed it? Long Chen couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. It took 3 breaths time to use. If he encountered a king, they would have slaughtered him 100 times in that span of time. No matter how strong it was, there was no point to it. No good, I have to think of some way to shorten the cast time. I'll have to properly study it. Starfall was absolutely terrifying and easily became his strongest move. It was even more terrifying than the third form of Split the Heavens. This was a trump card for protecting his life, hence, he had to perfect it. Long Chen took a long while to recover from this test. This move not only exhausted his spiritual yuan and soul energy, but it also exhausted Huolong's energy. While resting, he consumed a large number of Heavenly Star Sea merging pills. He needed to raise his cultivation base as high as possible during this time. Just as he was training in Starfall, the Shen Dao sect was shaken. The Dragonblood Legion's members had advanced to become rank 4 Celestials. That news spread to every corner of the Shen Dao sect. When Luo Fan heard this, a gloomy expression appeared on his face. As expected, this brute really has some huge secrets. The news that over 10,000 disciples had advanced to become rank 4 Celestials was too shocking. People even went to report it to the Shen Master. The Shen Master only gave out a simple response. This was a kind of experiment done by the Shen Dao sect. All elders and disciples were to keep it secret and not transmit it outside, and they shouldn't disturb the Dragonblood Legion either. It was true that there were various treasures that could be used to raise a Celestial's rank. In fact, there were several kinds of medicinal pills for it, but they were too precious, so precious that even the Shen Dao sect couldn't afford them. For the Shen Master's reply to be that it was an experiment shocked everyone. Could it be the Shen Dao sect was secretly researching precious medicines that could raise a Celestial's rank? Although people had all kinds of guesses, due to the Shen Master's orders, they could only stifle these questions inside. Time passed quickly, and over a month went by in the blink of an eye. On this day, Long Chen walked out of the training room with a smile on his face. Long Chen's mood was excellent. He felt like he had never been so happy. During this month, after training day and night, he had finally managed to learn how to control Starfall. The long cast time had been reduced from 3 breaths to just a single breath. Although that was still a long time to experts, As long as you understood how to create opportunities, it was possible to unleash this move now. Other than that, by consuming medicinal pills like crazy, his cultivation base had reached the 12th heaven stage of sea expansion. He would be able to attack foundation forging soon. Right now, practically all the inner sect disciples had already reached the peak of sea expansion. But no one had attacked foundation forging yet. They all hoped to stay in the sea expansion realm for a bit longer to lay a solid foundation. That would be more beneficial to their future cultivation. It seemed that in all his life, this was his first time keeping up with his fellows. His cultivation base was no longer miles behind the others. Long Chen had only just entered his residence when a burst of fragrance washed over him. Meng Qi, you're finally back. I really missed you. Long Chen didn't even think about it before pulling Meng Qi into a tight embrace. It had been several months since they had seen each other. Holding her, he couldn't help lowering his head, finding her lips, and giving her a kiss. Meng Qi quivered and tightly held Long Chen's waist. It was like only through such a method could they express their longing for each other. They didn't know how much time had passed before they finally separated. Meng Qi was red, a tender light in her eyes. She had felt like she was about to melt into Long Chen. Meng Qi, you're so beautiful, praised Long Chen involuntarily. Meng Qi reddened even more. No matter how beautiful the woman, they would still like being praised by others for their beauty, especially when it came from the person they loved. I forgot. Come with me. Grabbing Long Chen, she dragged him away. What is it? Long Chen was dumbfounded, following her out of the room. It's all your fault. I forgot, you need to go over for the drills, said Meng Qi. Drills? What drills? All the combat and support disciples are gathered to do drills. That way, they can work together on the battlefield to kill their enemies, said Meng Qi. It was no wonder he hadn't seen any Dragonblood warriors on Crouching Dragon Mountain. While he had been in his seclusion, he hadn't known anything about the matter. Long Chen was dragged over to the inner sect plaza by Meng Qi. Arriving there, he saw over 200,000 inner sect disciples drilling formations, and a foundation forging disciple was giving out orders for them. Seeing that person, Long Chen frowned. He had seen that person before. He had been with Gao Xinying back then. Long Chen, you're late. What are you still waiting for? Hurry up and return to your faction, ordered the foundation forging disciple. Brother Long. Boss. Two people in the crowd immediately let out loud cries upon seeing Long Chen. The two of them were Wild and Yu Zifeng. They were both emotional to see him. Shut up. You still don't know the slightest thing about proper conduct? Do you realize we're in the midst of drills? Roared the foundation forging disciple. Long Chen ignored him. Standing outside the formation with his hands clasped behind his back, he coldly looked over the Dragonblood Legion. That action infuriated the foundation forging disciple even more, and he shouted, Long Chen, are you deaf? I ordered you to return to your faction. If you keep making such a racket, I'll kill you. Long Chen glanced icily at the foundation forging disciple. He was no longer the old him. He had no fear for a mere rank 5 foundation forging celestial. Long Chen overlooked the Dragonblood Legion. Who told you to do drills? It was. Guoran was stunned. Was it me? Asked Long Chen. No. If it wasn't, then why did you come here? Why drill such a dog's hit formation? Are you trying to make your enemies laugh themselves to death? Furthermore, you're all warriors of the Dragonblood Legion. Other than me, no one has the qualifications to order you to do anything. Tell me, when will you grow some brains instead of being treated like dogs for other people's amusement? Scolded Long Chen. Guoran didn't make a sound. When he had received orders from the senior disciples to participate in drills with all the inner sect disciples, he hadn't even thought about it before bringing everyone. Long Chen, you're courting death, roared the foundation forging disciple. Long Chen was actually looking down on him. Kill him. Long Chen snorted. As a result, in front of all the inner sect disciples' stunned gazes, the Dragonblood Legion's warriors charged at the foundation forging disciple. The first thing to arrive was a cold ray of sword chi. It was incomparably fast. Wherever it passed, it felt as if heaven and earth were being sliced apart. The foundation forging disciple was horrified. He hadn't expected this many people to attack him just because of Long Chen's word. Furthermore, this sword attack was especially appalling. He took out a huge shield. The shield's runes lit up, unleashing a light barrier. A thick aura came from it that made it obvious that its defensive power was immense. But once that sword chi arrived, blood splashed from his chest. The sword chi had gone through the shield and injured him. Only after he was injured did half of the shield he was holding fall to the ground. Everyone sucked in a cold gasp of air. That powerful shield had actually been cut through by Yu Zifeng's sword chi. Furthermore, that cut was completely flat and smooth. His sword attack shocked them all. Without that shield, the foundation forging disciple would probably have been cut in two. You're all courting death. Tiger whistling chi grand art. The foundation forging disciple's heavenly Tao runes appeared, and a faint tiger whistle rang through the air. Light circulated around him, and the pressure of a foundation forging expert appeared. People seemed to be able to see a roaring tiger in his runes. Die! But that foundation forging disciple had just unleashed his aura when a huge bone club swung over. Boom! Wild, who was in his barbarian blood bronze body, smashed his club at the foundation forging disciple. Despite doing his best to resist, he was still sent flying. That club was too vicious. Just the whistling sound of it swinging through the air made people feel a stinging pain in their ears. As for the smashing sound, it resounded heavily in their eardrums, and they were unable to hear anything else for a while. This one attack stupefied everyone, and they looked in horror at the 30-meter Wild. They had never seen such a giant. At this time, Wild was holding his bone club with an uncomprehending expression. Due to how much power he had used in that last attack, the only thing remaining of his bone club was the lower half. The rest of it had shattered. As for the foundation forging disciple, he was even more miserable. Not only had his heavenly Tao runes disappeared, but his body below his waist had also disappeared. His face was pale as paper and filled with terror. Just now, if he hadn't instinctively sensed the danger and raised his body, he would be dead already. Damn, Wild actually knows how to use his energy now. Long Chen was delighted. When Wild had attacked just now, Long Chen had clearly sensed his aura rapidly circulating. It wasn't like before where he would strike with just pure power. For Wild to be able to use such a technique with his intelligence, it was practically heaven-defying. A group of people courting death. I suppose none of you wish to live any longer. Right at this moment, a group of people appeared, and the person at the front was the senior generation's heavenly genius, Gao Xianying. As soon as he appeared, a terrifying pressure descended on everyone, shaking their hearts. If we don't wish to live any longer, are you capable of helping us? Long Chen indifferently asked. He walked to the front of the Dragon Blood Legion, coldly facing Gao Xianying. The power distribution was already very obvious. The majority of the previous generation's disciples had all joined the law enforcement hall. Even if Long Chen acted obedient, they would still make things hard on him. It was better to counterattack. Since you want to die, I will help you, snorted Gao Xianying. He raised his hand, but suddenly, another group of people appeared. Gao Xianying, are you bullying the new disciples again? Is that the only ability you have? It was another group of foundation forging disciples. They were led by Su Mo and Mu Qingxian, while the one speaking was Su Mo. Su Mo and Mu Qingxian were part of the Elder Hall's power. They were enemies with Gao Xianying and the others. Seeing them, Long Chen suddenly felt like this situation wasn't as simple as he had thought. He was once more being used. This was no coincidence. His suspicions were confirmed when the Elder Hall and Law Enforcement Hall's elders also appeared. Following that, Lu Tsang and Luo Fan also arrived. It seemed that Long Chen's every action was within Lu Tsang's expectations. He supposed he had to admire that. Long Chen, you've disturbed the order of the sect, interrupted the drills, and shown no respect for your senior apprentice brother. Do you accept your sins? What others hadn't expected was that the one making things hard for Long Chen was the Elder Hall Master. How could Long Chen not understand his intentions? He directly said, I am unconvinced by this exercise. I won't watch as an idiot drills my brothers into trash so that they'll die once they're sent to the battlefield. What nonsense! Working together with support disciples is mutually beneficial. If you cooperate well, it will multiply your combat strength and reduce your casualties. How are they being sent into the battlefield to die? Raged the elder hallmaster. Luo Fan couldn't help being dumbfounded. Originally, he had thought he would have to have another verbal battle with the elder hallmaster. But now the elder hallmaster was saying everything he wanted to say. He didn't understand. Long Chen couldn't help but smile. Lu Tsong had already paved a path for Long Chen with his words just now. He said, "You're right, if they cooperate well, it will multiply our combat strength and reduce casualties. But arranging an idiot commander will only reduce our combat strength and multiply our casualties. I won't bother with the others, but every member of the Dragonblood Legion is my brother or sister. I won't allow them to be killed because of an idiot." For Long Chen to repeatedly call him an idiot infuriated the Foundation forging disciple that had been drilling everyone. He was currently healing with the help of an elder, but his injuries were too heavy. He couldn't grow back half his body in such a short time. He roared, "Who are you calling an idiot?" This formation was personally decided on by the Hall Master. "Sorry, then I was wrong. It's not that you're an idiot, but that your Hall Master is an idiot. If this kind of foolish formation was created by someone with a brain, then I really have to admire that someone," said Long Chen. Luo Fan's expression sank. He was just about to speak when an icy voice rang out. "Then what do you need for you to be convinced?" Tower Department Head. All the elders and disciples hastily bowed. However, the Tower Department Head didn't reveal himself. Only his voice rang out in the air. "I'm already convinced. A grand formation containing over 200,000 people that doesn't care about each person's individual combat strengths or their attributes, one that doesn't differentiate offense or defense, has absolutely no use. Well, if you're fighting smart opponents, then there's a chance they might laugh themselves to death. But right now, we're drilling against infernal devil beasts. Isn't this just sending people to their deaths? Furthermore, a grand formation involving over 200,000 people would require several months of training just to grasp the basics, let alone using the formation to its advantages. Do we have that time? So I just can't comprehend how an amateur who doesn't know a thing about this possibly has the qualifications to interfere with such an important matter. Is this to intentionally harm the disciples? Disciple would like to ask the Tower Department Head for an explanation," said Long Chen. The Elder Hall Master smiled. If this wasn't the wrong time, he would give Long Chen's a thumbs up. He was truly smart to immediately see through the clues to figure out what was going on. In truth, Long Chen was unaware that in the infernal devil abyss's battlefield, whichever department had the most contributions would become the leader of the battlefield. The Law Enforcement Hall's Foundation forging disciples were led by Gao Xianyang, and due to the Law Enforcement Hall's immense wealth, they had quite a few powerful disciples. Those disciples ended up being the main force on the battlefield, and so the battlefield's tactics were arranged by them. Originally, there should have been no problem. But this year, the infernal devil abyss's devil beasts had suddenly erupted, and there was no way for them to give the new disciples too much time to adapt. And so they were rushing along to get the disciples familiar with cooperating with each other. However, the Law Enforcement Hall had no experience in that regard. The Elder Hall had been in charge before and were the true professionals, but the Law Enforcement Hall didn't want to ask them for their advice. They directly dredged up a huge formation diagram, and this was the result. The Elder Hall Master and its elders were all anxious about that. This was completely unacceptable, and far too many disciples would be sacrificed like this. The elders had asked their Hall Master what to do, but the Elder Hall Master had merely smiled and told them not to panic. There were still a few more days left, and he was waiting for something. And Long Chen quickly came out of seclusion. The Elder Hall Master knew that his opportunity had come, and he had arranged this situation. Disturbing the Tower Department Head was also within his expectations, because he had long since made his preparations. Long Chen didn't disappoint him. Using the quickest, most direct and effective method, Long Chen got his results, And those were even better than what the Elder Hall Master had anticipated. In fact, he hadn't even had to do anything. Everything was done perfectly by Long Chen. Starting today, the drilling of the new disciples will be left to the Elder Hall. The Law Enforcement Hall doesn't need to participate. This isn't your specialty, said the Tower Department Head after a moment's hesitation. Tower Department Head, according to the rule dash. Luo Fan was panicked now. This was equivalent to giving the authority to the Elder Hall. Then the Law Enforcement Hall's influence over the new disciples would grow weaker and weaker. Rules are dead while people are alive. Do you want to sacrifice the lives of our disciples because of a rule? There's a good saying, if you have no ability, don't act like you do. Long Chen is correct. This kind of idiotic formation is something even I would be amazed by if it was made by someone with a brain. There's no room for discussion. Starting now, the drilling of the new disciples is completely left up to the Elder Hall. The Tower Department Head's voice turned cold. His mood was clearly starting to drop. Luo Fan was ashen with rage, but he didn't say anything more. After viciously glaring at the Elder Hall Master for a moment and then icily glaring at Long Chen, he left. His unconcealable killing intent shook all the disciples' hearts. All of them could see that he had been on the verge of exploding. Following him, Gao Xianyang also left. But before leaving, he cast a profound glance at Long Chen. The drills are over for today. We'll continue tomorrow morning, announced Li Changfeng. Well done, Long Chen. Once all the disciples were gone, when it was only Su Mo, Mu Qingxian, and a few others from the Elder Hall left, Su Mo gave Long Chen a thumbs up. Hee, it was all thanks to the Elder Hall Master's arrangements, said Long Chen. The Elder Hall Master shook his head. You little fellow, are you complaining about being used as a weapon? I'm not complaining, but if such a thing happens again, can you warn me first? I'll be able to handle it even better, and I'll be more confident. Long Chen smiled. All right, let's return to the Elder Hall. We need to have a discussion. Within the Elder Hall, there were only a few core elders, the Hall Master, Long Chen, Su Mo, and Mu Qingxian. This was Long Chen's first time attending such a gathering. Su Mo, this is Long Chen's first time. Explain the situation within the infernal devil abyss, said the Hall Master. Su Mo said, all right. Currently, the situation in the infernal devil abyss is very ominous. There are too many devil beasts, and although we've just forced back a wave, according to the information from the scouts, the next wave will come quickly, and it will probably have even larger numbers. With that trend in mind, the number of foundation forging disciples we have is a bit lacking. The accident last time that you encountered on the battlefield was truly because of that disciple's carelessness, but another factor was that no one could have predicted that so many 9th rank devil beasts would suddenly appear. By the time they reacted, it was too late. So this time, the new disciples won't be able to hide in the back. You'll also have to appear on the front lines. Although it hasn't reached the point that we need you to charge into them, in order to distribute our combat power, the new disciples will also be guarding a defensive region. Even though there will be foundation forging disciples in front of you slaughtering the devil beasts, making the number of devil beasts that reach you much lower, 9th rank devil beasts will still frequently come at you. This time, you'll have to be properly prepared. The support disciples have also been mobilized just to help handle this high-level battle. However, you don't need to be too worried either. If the devil beasts are truly too strong this time, the sect will have you retreat and activate the stronghold to kill them. Long Chen nodded. As expected, the senior disciples at the front had it tough, and they needed the new disciples to participate as well. Long Chen, do you have any opinions? Asked Mu Qingxian. No opinions. In any case, the only thing to do is to kill. Long Chen shook his head. Don't be ridiculous. I'm asking you if you have any battle tactics, said Mu Qingxian. When it comes to battle tactics, I only have some for my Dragon Blood Legion. I have nothing for the other factions. I'm confident in my people. They are definitely the ones with the greatest combat power amongst the new disciples. So I don't want you to insert a bunch of random people into my faction. At most, give me 20 or 30 healing disciples, said Long Chen. Within the infernal devil abyss, being injured was the most dangerous thing. The devil beast's attacks all possessed some kind of special dark energy that greatly diminished the effectiveness of the heavenly Tao recovery. So healing experts were vital. I was originally thinking of having you lead the 6 factions. But it seems you have no interest in that, said Lutsong. It's not that I have no interest, but that I don't have the ability. Fan Song and Hu Geishan hate me to the core, so I can't lead them. I'm not afraid of anything except being stabbed in the back at a critical moment. Then I'd go crazy and kill people. My guess is that if I became their leader, they would agree on the surface and then not put in any effort. In fact, they might intentionally block us. That won't just harm others, but they will also harm the Dragonblood Legion. So I don't want to be some leader. I just want to look after my Dragonblood Legion. Rather than having some untrustworthy battle comrades, I'd prefer to fight alone, said Long Chen. Everyone nodded. He was correct. The Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild had a good relationship with Long Chen, but it would be too troublesome for him to lead the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemen Hall. However, there was no one else who possessed the ability to lead everyone. Currently, Meng Qi, Yu Zifeng, and Wild had returned, and Gu Yang, Tang Wana, and the others had advanced to become rank 5 Celestials who were capable of merging with heaven and earth. Who could possibly challenge the current Dragonblood Legion? Right now, no one dared to look down on the Dragonblood Legion. It was like the Dragonblood Legion had grown to hegemon's status overnight. No one else could rattle them. It's true that the Dragonblood Legion needs its independence. After all, Long Chen has led them from the start, and if others randomly join, it will decrease their power, making it so they can't fight freely. I feel like the other factions are the same. Have them just lead their own people, while the support disciples can merge with their ranks under their guidance. That is the quickest and most effective way to increase their power. We just need to offer them a few comparatively useful support disciples so they can properly display their strengths, said Su Mo. Long Chen nodded. Su Mo's method was currently the most feasible method. As for that garbage formation from the law enforcement hall, there was no need to even mention it. Good, then that's what we'll do. Since Long Chen only needs healing disciples, arrange for 50 of the strongest ones to join him. After all, his people will be our main force. As for the other factions, arrange for support disciples in accordance with their needs. They're the ones clearest of their own strengths and weaknesses. For Flame Gate, Su Mo, pick out a foundation forging disciple to temporarily lead them. Long Chen, you handle your side, and as for the other factions, Su Mo, Mu Qingxian, look after them a bit more, said Lutsong. As you command. Su Mo and Mu Qingxian both bowed. The meeting was over. They hadn't really discussed anything of substance, but there was also no need for that. Right now, the Dragonblood Legion was the strongest, and the other factions were only subsidiary. As soon as Long Chen had returned to Crouching Dragon Mountain, he called over Wild and the others. He wanted to learn what they had gone through during this time. During these few months, Meng Qi, Yu Zifeng, and Wild had all been secluded within the Xiantian catalog. Meng Qi and Yu Zifeng had obtained powerful inheritances, and their gains were huge. As for Wild, when asked about what he had gone through, his response was a bit muddled. He said that during those days, he had always been sleeping in a mysterious space. When he woke up, he had come out. He didn't feel any change in himself, making Long Chen and the others speechless. In a bit, bring everyone for a stroll through Treasure Gem Island and buy some decent things. Wild's Bone Club isn't able to keep up with his strength, so buy a good weapon. Don't worry about money, since we don't have any major expenses coming up, said Long Chen. Hee, I like strolling through there the most. In the past, there wasn't enough money for me to do so, but now I can randomly go there as I please, said Tang Wana excitedly. She was no exception to the rule that women liked shopping. Tang Wana led the 3 of them away, and very quickly, Long Chen received word that 50 healing disciples had already arrived. Long Chen looked over them. The majority of them were women, with only 5 male disciples. They were all wood attribute cultivators. Greetings, senior apprentice brother Long Chen. Those healing disciples all bowed upon seeing Long Chen, their eyes full of worship and reverence. Long Chun could be claimed to have dominated all the heavenly geniuses in the Xiantian Dao sect's new generation. No one could contend against him equally. Furthermore, he never put on airs like other experts and was easy to get to know. He also treated his subordinates warmly and was willing to risk his life for his brothers. His tyrannical and merciless side existed to protect his brothers. Countless people dreamed of joining the Dragon Blood Legion, and these 50 people were no exception. They were the strongest healers amongst the new generation of disciples, as expected of elites Li Changfeng had meticulously picked out for him. Now standing in front of Long Chen, they felt both nervous and excited. They were now also joining the Dragon Blood Legion. That was a kind of honor. I won't say too many superfluous words. Since we'll be brothers and sisters fighting side by side, we are one family. Each one of you can have an initial 50,000 points to buy things you need for the battle. Do your best to buy things that can increase your healing powers. If that's not enough points, you can come and find me. Startled cries rang out from amongst the healing disciples. 50,000 points was an amount they had never dared to dream of. Those disciples delightedly took the points and rushed straight to Treasure Gem Island. Long Chen knew that these kinds of support professions burned the most money. Their equipment and items were normally much more expensive than those used by fighters. He didn't know much about their requirements, so rather than doing something stupid like directing them with his amateur skills, he let them buy what they needed themselves. He spent such a huge sum on them not just to win over their hearts, but because the Dragon Blood Legion was truly lacking healers. A group of elite healers would be an even greater safeguard for the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors' lives. Other than that, the majority of those healing disciples were women, while the Dragon Blood Legion was filled with mainly men. There truly had been a need for some equalization. This way, they wouldn't spend all days spouting uncultured speech. It was good for their growth. Originally, Long Chen had been thinking of having Guoran spend the next few days drilling their formations. That way the healing disciples would get familiar with them. But Guoran was already in seclusion, doing his best to forge more killing tools. He could only leave this matter to Gu Yang. In truth, the mission of the healing disciples was very simple. They didn't need to fight. They just need to be spread out amongst them, each one of them in charge of an area. If anyone in that area was injured, they could heal them at the greatest speed. Those healing disciples bought quite a few pieces of top-grade equipment thanks to Long Chen. For example, there were some wood spirit beads that allowed them to quickly recover their wood spiritual energy. There were staves that allowed them to unleash long-range healing magical arts. There were also spirit talismans that could be used for area healing as long as they poured in their spiritual energy. To sum it up, these disciples had essentially bought everything useful. Not only that, they had only bought the best. The other healing disciples were incredibly envious. When they joined the battle factions, they had been given 20,000 points to buy things, and they had felt that to be enough. But compared to the 50,000 points given by the Dragon Blood Legion, they felt poor. Drilling their formations was very simple. If those healing disciples were unable to remember their positions, Gu Yang would simply pick out a Dragon Blood warrior to lead them. They could just follow that person. For so many beautiful healing experts to join invigorated the Dragon Blood Legion. They enthusiastically swore that they would definitely protect them, causing the women to be extremely moved, while also making Long Chen speechless. But when he thought about it, he supposed it made sense. Satisfied men didn't know the pain of hungry men. Only when men and women were matched up could they couple strength and gentleness. Seeing those wood cultivators made him think of Chu Yao. That gentle girl, he had no idea how she was right now. Would she have forgotten him? Regretfully, he had no more 10,000 spirit blood. Back then, he hadn't had any intentions of expanding the Dragon Blood Legion, and so he had given it all to Yu Shaoqian. Without any 10,000 spirit blood, he could only refine a pill called the Jade Flower Spirit Ascension Pill. Although it was only half as effective as the 10,000 spirit blood, it was also a difficult-to-obtain pill. At the very least, it would bring about an obvious attribute upgrade in them. But for people with average elemental affinities, there was nothing it could do. After all, it wasn't 10,000 spirit blood. This kind of medicinal pill was most helpful to the wood cultivators. It could purify their with spiritual energy. Although the Xiantian Dao sect also had similar pills, their effect was not as good as the Jade Flower Spirit Ascension pill. He distributed the Jade Flower Spirit Ascension pills to the Dragonmark warriors and healing disciples, having them refine its medicinal energy as quickly as possible. When Tang Wan'er and the others returned, they had brilliant smiles. That was especially true of Wild. Holding a spiked club, he had a permanent foolish smile pasted to his face. When Longchen asked, he learned that this spiked club was a king item priced at 50 million points. Although that price was frighteningly high, it was worth it. Its name was Blood Addict. Its weight alone was enough to crush a mass of sea expansion experts. Even Foundation forging disciples would be unable to hold it. But its weight was perfect for Wild. The spikes on the club were wolf fangs. A total of 308 Blood Addict ghost wolves' teeth were embedded into it. They shone with cold light. Blood Addict ghost wolves were 9th rank magical beasts. Their teeth contained their core runes. Once activated, their power was practically unstoppable. As soon as Wild had seen it, he had instantly cried out that he wanted that. He refused to look at anything else. Damn, this is one fierce weapon. Longchen tried holding it, and he was astonished by its weight. Even with his current power, he was only barely able to hold it. As for actually using it, he would probably have to activate the Green Dragon battle armor first. But Wild held the huge club like it was exceptionally light. That showed that Wild's physical power had far surpassed Longchen's. He had clearly greatly benefited from his nap in the Xiantian catalog. Just taking a nap was able to raise his power so much. People really had different fates. Even Longchen was a bit jealous. He had been killed so many times in the Xiantian catalog. It was truly a case of a fool possessing a fool's luck. I bought an ancient sword, and it's also a king item. Although it looks ordinary on the outside, this sword gives me a very intimate feeling, said Yu Zifeng. He had a simple sword on his back. It was completely unremarkable. No one would be able to tell it was a king item. Even kings were not able to see past its simple outer appearance. Even if they could tell it was a king item, they would feel it to be the most ordinary of all king items. In fact, some people thought that this sword had been made by a disciple. Its quality might have reached the king item level, but its spirituality was too low, making it essentially a defective good. King items all had powerful item spirits. Some would even clearly express their repulsion or affection for different masters. But this sword was completely indifferent, and no one's spiritual fluctuations were able to affect it. That was why this sword was only priced at 10 million points. And so it had been bought by Yu Zifeng. Longchen nodded. Sword cultivators had the most shocking spiritual perception. They were the only profession that assassins didn't dare to target. If Yu Zifeng felt like he had some destiny with this sword, then there had to be some reason behind it. Meng Qi, what did you buy? Longchen turned to Meng Qi. Fool, do you not see that Sister Meng Qi has become even more beautiful? Demanded Tang Wan, looking like she would give him a beating. Longchen was startled, and suddenly he saw that Meng Qi was completely red. Only then did he realize that her hair was bound in a special knot that made her appear even more poised and elegant. There were 2 phoenix hairpins in her hair knot, one on the left and one on the right. They were absolutely dazzling, and when he looked closely, Longchen was shocked to see countless runes that were barely visible to the naked eye on its exterior. They almost looked alive. Meng Qi, you're really beautiful. Longchen learned his lesson. Rather than saying the hairpins were beautiful, he directly praised Meng Qi. At the same time, he scolded himself for being blind. Just what had he been so preoccupied with that he hadn't even noticed this? No wonder Tang Wan'er would scold him. I suppose you know how to talk. The phoenix hairpins Sister Meng Qi is wearing are called fantasy spirits. They're extremely powerful soul items. Hee, I was the one who picked them up, said Tang Wan'er proudly. In truth, I didn't want them. They're too expensive, said Meng Qi with embarrassment. Where did that come from? I trust Wan'er's vision. These are definitely very powerful phoenix hairpins, and their value surpasses their price. Furthermore, they're very suited to your grand air, praised Longchen. In one go, Longchen had praised both of them. When he asked about Tang Wan, he realized she hadn't bought anything. She said she hadn't found anything she wanted. But he could tell she was lying. She had been managing their household this entire time, and so she was worried about running into an emergency and running out of points. Tomorrow, I'll go for a stroll with you. I've only gone to Treasure Gem Island for fights, so it'll be nice to take a stroll instead, laughed Long Chen, causing Tang Wan'er to smile gratefully. The next day, Long Chen brought Tang Wan'er to Treasure Gem Island. She directly went to a certain shop and pointed at a necklace on the wall with an embarrassed expression. Long Chen looked at it and immediately understood. This necklace was called Blessing of the Wind Fairy. It had a heart-shaped pendant that was half-transparent, and energy was fluctuating within it like water. In truth, that wasn't water, but wind energy. This pendant was created from a heavenly wind crystal, a treasure every wind attribute cultivator longed for. By wearing it, she would be able to comprehend the profundities of wind more easily while cultivating. When using magical arts, she would be able to link up to heaven and earth's wind energy, allowing her to cast them more quickly and with more power. Without a second word, Long Chen directly handed over his crystal card. He knew why Tang Wan'er didn't buy it. It cost 80 million points. After buying it, the Dragon Blood Legion's points would drop precipitously. But Long Chen didn't mind. Spending however much money was fine if it was for Tang Wan'er. On the contrary, he felt that he was the one who owed her far too much. He doubted he could repay it in his lifetime. He personally put the necklace on Tang Wan'er, making her indescribably moved. Even her eyes became moist. Not daring to look at Long Chen, she turned away to wipe away her tears. That made Long Chen even more ashamed. In truth, Tang Wan'er had very low requirements for him. She was a very easily satisfied woman. Long Chen brought Tang Wan'er for a stroll. After a while, he learned that there were very few pieces of equipment for wind attribute cultivators, and there were essentially no weapons to be found. That was because for wind attribute experts, their strongest weapon was the wind that existed around them. Currently, Tang Wan'er had yet to reach foundation forging, and she didn't have the qualifications to enter the Xiantian catalog to cultivate. Each person only had one chance to enter the Xiantian catalog. Once they left, they would never be able to enter again. In fact, even a monster like Long Chen wasn't an exception. He had found his inheritance in the Xiantian catalog, and after that, his fate with the Xiantian catalog had ended. He would also never be able to enter again. In order to allow the disciples to make the greatest gains in the Xiantian catalog, they were only allowed to enter after reaching foundation forging. However, there were exceptions for people like Meng Qi, Yu Zifeng, and Wild who possessed special attributes. For others, entering too early might be wasting their best opportunity. Long Chen brought Tang Wan'er around Treasure Gem Island for a day, and he bought quite a few trifles just to make Tang Wan'er happy. Tang Wan'er also bought a few small gifts for Meng Qi. Time passed by. Just as everyone was energetically drilling their formations, the bell to gather finally sounded on the 7th day. All the inner sect disciples once more gathered in the plaza. As soon as they were present, they were sent directly to the infernal devil abyss. This time, they appeared on a huge wall that stretched far into the distance. In front of the wall was a boundless black wasteland. The ground was ink black and emitted a corrosive aura. In fact, the smell of death came from it. The Dragon Blood Legion, Heaven Female Alliance, and 10,000 Insect Guild are in charge of defending this place. They had only just arrived on top of the wall when a figure descended from the sky. That person was precisely the previous generation's top heavenly genius, Gao Xiang. The army on this battlefield was being led by the Law Enforcement Hall's disciples, so they had the authority over who defended where. Seeing that it was Gao Xianyang, Long Chen sneered. But he didn't say anything. Gao Xianyang continued, "There are a total of 3 passes in this wall. Of course, those passes have been closed. What you need to do is to not allow a huge number of 9th-rank devil beasts to attack the wall. Although the wall is protected by divine runes, it can't handle too many attacks from the 9th-rank devil beasts. As for devil beasts weaker than that, they won't be able to cause any substantial harm to the wall. However, once there are too many 8th rank devil beasts gathered, they'll pile up like a mountain. Once that mountain reaches the height of the wall, they'll be able to get past. Your mission is to not allow a single devil beast get by. Right now, the place you were guarding last time is defended by a group of outer sect disciples. If too many devil beasts get by, I'm sure you can imagine the consequences. The wall is 300 meters high, and these devil beasts cannot fly. As long as you don't allow them to pile up, blocking them should be simple enough. That's all I have to say. The rest is up to you. Long Chen, don't disappoint me. Everyone else, come with me. You will be guarding another region. Gao Xianying smiled profoundly at Long Chen. Waving his hand, he led the Flame Gate, Divine Beast Mansion, and Hegemon Hall's disciples away. Now, the only ones here were the 3 factions of the Dragonblood Legion, Heaven Female Alliance, and 10,000 Insect Guild. Gao Xianying definitely gave us the most difficult spot to defend. He must have given them the safer regions, said Wang Zhen. Thinking of Long Chen's past interactions with Gao Xianying, a bad feeling arose in many people's hearts. If you were my subordinate, I'd kick you, said Long Chen. If it weren't for our past relations, I'd suspect you were a spy sent by Gao Xianying to rattle people. Sorry, that wasn't my intention, apologized Wang Zhen. It doesn't matter. In front of absolute power, all schemes are nonsense, just jokes, laughed Long Chen. Turning to everyone, he said, riches and opportunity are found in danger. If we just wanted to be safe, why would we even come out? We'd just stay home eating and drinking. Right now, I'm looking forward to this dangerous region Gao Xianying set up for us. On the contrary, I was worried he would give us a safe place where we wouldn't even be able to see a devil beast. Only when there are many devil beasts can we make the most points. Furthermore, this is the best opportunity for us. The Foundation Forging disciples only get 10,000 points for killing a 9th rank devil beast. As our strength grows, the points for killing 9th rank devil beasts drop. So right now, this is the last chance where we can still get 1,000,000 points for killing a 9th rank devil beast. This kind of opportunity is too rare. Let me warn you, keep your eyes open when the devil beasts come. Don't blame the Dragonblood Legion for being too vicious and taking all the points. Putting it this way, everyone's tense hearts loosened. Yes, this was precisely an opportunity to become rich. Right now, they were all at the peak of sea expansion. Once they advanced to Foundation Forging, the points gained from killing any devil beasts would drop. It was just like what Long Chen had just said. They should be praying for more devil beasts. The Dao sect's rewards were very fair. The number of points given was based on the disciples' combat strength and the danger involved. When you were weaker, it was more dangerous to kill devil beasts, and so the rewards were naturally higher. Once you were stronger, killing devil beasts became easier and the rewarded points dropped. Last time, just one 9th rank devil beast had been worth 10 million points. These disciples had instantly experienced what it meant to go from a beggar to moneybags. That refreshing feeling was something they wouldn't be able to forget. Now that Long Chen said that this might be their last chance to make such wealth, quite a few of them turned red-eyed. They wished for the devil beasts to cover all of heaven and earth. Some people really did worry there would be too few devil beasts and that they might start fighting over them. The Dragonblood Legion was too intimidating now. Seeing Long Chen wipe away the unease caused by Wang Zhen's careless words made both Hua Xiyu and Wang Zhen completely convinced. Long Chen was a natural leader. Each word he said, each action he made, was full of the charisma of a leader. Furthermore, each sentence, each word, was full of his absolute confidence, making it so nobody doubted the veracity of his words. Alright, don't overthink things. Gao Xianying won't be so nice as to let us laze about here. Normally, each time the devil beasts erupt, they will start with the weakest ones. The Dragonblood Legion doesn't need more tempering. If there are any formations that you feel like your factions are uncomfortable with, you can use that chance to train. Oh, they arrived this quickly. Long Chen was in the midst of talking when he started to hear mixed roars coming from not far. Although there was still nothing on the horizon, they could hear them. Hua Xiyu and Wang Zhen had their people jump off the wall. They advanced to a suitable distance before arranging their formations. Unlike the Dragonblood Legion, thousands of new disciples had joined their factions. Although their drilling went decently, the support disciples hadn't entered the battlefield before. No one knew whether or not there would be mistakes from their nervousness. As the roars approached, countless black spots appeared on the horizon. They were like a tide pouring over them. Nevertheless, the fact that they were essentially all 7th-rank devil beasts allowed the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples to sigh with relief. Once those devil beasts were closer, hundreds of people from the two factions flew into the air. They threw out golden rays of light that flew amongst the devil beasts. Explosions shook the sky as those devil beasts were blown apart. Talisman cultivators. Long Chen smiled slightly. Those disciples were throwing out talismans. When they exploded, their power was not bad. Talismans required special paper, ink, and writing utensils. With just a thought from the talisman cultivators, their talismans could be detonated. Right now, they were just practicing. These talismans were just ordinary ones. They hadn't taken out their powerful ones. These talismans cultivators are very dashing, said Guoran enviously. Although his spiritual strength was all right, it was lacking some spirituality and stability. There was no way for him to write runes onto thin paper. He could carve them onto solid armor, but it was fated for him to be unable to become a talisman cultivator. After the attacks of the talisman cultivators, the rest of the faction also made their battle preparations. All the disciples took out their weapons. Just at this moment, two women from the two factions soared into the air, ancient zither in their hands. Waves of music rang out, startling Long Chen. When the zither were plucked gently, they released a sound that was like the beating of war drums. As they continued playing, their sound waves spread, and those slightly uneasy and nervous disciples gradually calmed down. The zither music had the effect of calming their hearts. Looking at those two, for some unknown reason, Long Chen thought of another woman. She was of unmatched grace and elegance. When her hand touched her zither, the music would touch the depths of people's souls. Ziyen, a name which had been almost forgotten by Long Chen. Hearing this zither music, she once more appeared in his mind. Long Chen lost focus. The zither music had gone through some soft variations and was growing louder, with greater tempo. The music now contained a battle intent that made people's blood boil. The Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples quickly entered their peak battle states. Long Chen nodded. The music Dao was also powerful. Used on the battlefield, it was the best at controlling the rhythm. Depending on the strength of the player, their zither music would be able to directly give people directions. That was even more effective than shouting orders. "Boss, our faction is truly lacking a powerful music master," said Guoran enviously. "Perhaps we'll have one as well. Have you forgotten about the soul-calming song? That beautiful woman is a fairy-like existence." Tang Wana looked at Long Chen, laughing. It was unknown whether or not it was because of accompanying Long Chen for so long and having him shop for her had won her over, but she actually said such a thing. It almost sounded like encouragement. "Ah, that's right." Guoran slapped his leg. That soul-calming song had been one of the foundational aspects that had allowed the Dragonblood Legion to soar. Even Shui Wuhan had benefited from it. Although Ziyen was veiled in the photographic jade, just from the parts of her face that were exposed, they could tell she was a beauty that could cause the downfall of a state. Furthermore, when she played the zither, she possessed a moving immortal charm. She was like a fairy who didn't eat mortal food. Even though the effect of the music was greatly reduced because it was recorded by a photographic jade, they had benefited immensely. "That's right, my ass. I don't even know her, so how am I supposed to pull her in?" demanded Long Chen. Long Chen cursed him inside. Did he think he was a god, capable of pulling in anyone? If he was, he'd have long since swept through this world. Guoran was disappointed. Continuing to watch the battle below, they saw that under the guidance of the zither players, their tempo and control only grew better and more natural. They all understood that the zither players were the crux of this entire formation. Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen both sent down many orders through the zither music, including when to change formations or switch from offense to defense. Although more and more devil beasts appeared, the two factions still had it very easy. The hordes of devil beasts were slaughtered, making the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors' hands itchy. "Boss, let's also go out," whispered Guoran eagerly. "You want to be a poser again?" Long Chen rolled his eyes. "Yes." Guoran nodded sincerely. "Your skin is growing even thicker. You don't even get embarrassed anymore? They're using this opportunity to drill their troops, so would you not feel ashamed to interfere?" Long Chen was speechless. "Fine, then I'll endure a bit longer." Guoran was a bit embarrassed. But looking at the fiery battle below, he had an urge to descend from the sky and shock everyone, the perfect act of an unrivaled hero arriving on the scene. "Advance the formations 100 miles, shouted Long Chen suddenly. He saw that the distant devil beasts were getting stronger and more numerous. There were more 8th-rank devil beasts, and a few isolated 9th-rank devil beasts were appearing. It had only been less than an hour, but 9th-rank devil beasts had already appeared. That was not a good omen. Perhaps the numbers of the devil beast army would be even greater than Long Chen had expected. If they killed too many devil beasts near the wall, their corpses would begin piling up. That would cause problems when the time came. The two factions slowly pushed forward. As the devil beasts grew stronger, the factions displayed greater power. Wang Zhen had summoned a huge pincer insect that was completely black but shiny like it was made of metal. It had a long curved tail, seeming to be a variation of a scorpion. This scorpion was huge, looking around like it was approximately a mile long. Its aura was extremely terrifying, and its venomous stinger was so toxic that even 9th-rank devil beasts would be killed on contact. This was what Wang Zhen was using to handle the 9th-rank devil beasts. On the other side, Hua Shiyu and Zhao Ziyan were standing at the front of their army, meeting any 9th-rank devil beasts that came. After that huge battle last time, they had all obtained an ocean's worth of points. The disciples had all advanced a great deal in terms of both cultivation base and equipment. Zhao Ziyan was holding a sword, and when she attacked, sword chi would flow out like water. She was actually capable of compressing her water energy to a level that it easily cut through the void, and even 9th-rank devil beasts were unable to bear it. There was a huge ape-like devil beast. Its large arm was cut off with a single slash of her sword, and just as he let out a heaven-shaking roar, before it could reveal any of its power, Zhao Ziyan's second slash reached its neck. Black blood spurted into the air along with its head. She had killed it easily. Nice. The Dragon Blood Legion's members cheered from the wall. They all agreed that this attack had been exceptionally beautiful. Long Chen now were strong enough. Why not draw Hua Shiyu, Zhao Ziyan, and Wang Zhen into the Dragon Blood Legion, whispered Tangwan. If I drew them all in, I bet the Xian Master would kill me. Long Chen shook his head with a bitter smile. Why? Asked Tangwana. Because when we leave, we'd end up taking away all the Xian Dao sect's elites of this generation. It would be odd if he didn't kill me, laughed Long Chen. Why would we leave? Foolish girl, this world is huge. There's nowhere that can completely protect us. I wish we could stay in the Xian Dao sect forever, but my prediction is that I'll provoke a huge calamity one day, and if we don't leave, we'll implicate the sect. And if both of them join us and we leave, we'll have taken away this generation of people. Do you think the Xian Master will allow that? Said Long Chen. Long Chen sighed inside. He felt himself to be an unlucky star. If he stayed in the Dao sect for too long, he would implicate it somehow. Brothers, that's about enough. Prepare to get to work, called out Long Chen. Up ahead, a mass of large figures had appeared. There were dozens of 9th-rank devil beasts approaching. Right now, they were still slowly advancing because there were just too many 7th and 8th-rank devil beasts. It was like wading through knee-deep water. Quite a few of those weaker devil beasts were trampled by them. Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen's expressions changed. Although they weren't afraid of 9th-rank devil beasts, there were too many of them. Once they arrived, there was no way for the disciples to kill them all at once. Quite a few would get by, and they were worried that their people wouldn't be able to handle them. Just as Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen were about to ask for reinforcement, a huge object fell from the sky. It was a 300-meter square platform, and it landed with such power that it smashed the devil beasts around it to smithereens. This square platform had been created with special steel. There was a figure loftily standing on it, his arms spread and raised at a 45-degree angle toward the sky. His chest was out, his head was high, and it was incredibly flashy. I swept through the 4 seas, crossed 1,000 mountains, caused huge billows in heaven and earth, slaughtered demons, eliminated devils, plucked the stars and moon. 'Tis I, the unrivaled hero Guoran. Chanted Guoran in an incredibly showy manner. Guoran looked back to see the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples looking at him with shock. They were clearly stunned by his display. But then when he looked at the wall, he saw that only the Dragon Mark warriors and newly joined healing disciples were looking at him. Long Chen, Tang Waner, and essentially all the Dragonblood warriors had turned away, acting like they didn't know him. Gu Yang, I can't handle it. He's absolutely shameless. He even called himself an unrivaled hero? Does anyone else just give themselves that title? Yu Zifeng, I have goosebumps. I was not prepared for this sudden poser act. Li Qi, Guoran's posing act is familiar, both the way he does it and how it feels. But its power only grows stronger. Song Mingyuan, but his self-restraint got worse. That final sentence of his voice was clearly shuddering. He's definitely nervous. After a moment of silence, the same words came from different mouths. He probably held back from posing for too long. Hey, you call me brother, but you don't support me at all? What do you think you're doing? Raged Guoran. There's no need for so many words, go ahead and continue. We will support you in our minds. Long Chen turned to face him and forced a smile. As brothers, even if they didn't cheer on his posing, they couldn't undermine him. If they did, Guoran would go crazy. Only once he saw Long Chen and the others turning back to face him did Guoran's expression improve. With another bang, a huge crossbow appeared in front of him. This crossbow was so heavy that it caused the platform to shake. It was the same crossbow as last time. Even after advancing to become a rank 5 celestial, Guoran was still unable to carry such a heavy crossbow. So he had created this huge platform just for it. Guoran aimed it at the distant 9th rank devil beasts. Once he was focused like this, he truly did have a bit of the air of an expert. A light sound rang out. A blur flew out, and then, one of the 9th rank devil beasts hundreds of miles away exploded. That made Long Chen and the others' expressions change slightly. It seemed Guoran truly did have the power to be a poser. Then, shockingly, Guoran continued shooting out unknown objects at the 9th rank devil beasts. They were killed one by one, exploding into black blood flowers. Damn, how fierce! Even Long Chen couldn't help but let out an exclamation. This was being a poser through power. Let alone the others, even Long Chen was shocked. Just when had this brat become so powerful? And he hadn't even bragged about it? No wonder he had been so furious before. So he had been posing with real power. This shocked everyone. Each time Guoran attacked, they were only able to see him to activate some mechanisms. They were unable to even see the projectile before the distant 9th rank devil beasts were blown apart. Continuous explosions rang out, like a person doing roll call. He killed over 30 of them in one go, dumbfounding the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples. This is my most successful posing in all of history. So, I'll be a bit modest and only give myself full marks. Guoran had stealthily cast his divine sense behind him and seen all those dumbstruck people. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, just like a lonely expert. But in truth, flowers were about to bloom in his heart. Should we attack? Asked Gu Yang. Let's wait a bit so he can finish posing. Furthermore, the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild aren't quite at their peak yet. Right now, with Guoran at the front, their safety is of no issue, so give them some more time for training, said Long Chen. Inside, he praised Guoran. He was truly a generation's marvel. His cultivation talent was so lacking that even after Long Chen did his best to develop him, his actual combat power was garbage. But by blazing an alternate route, he had found his own Tao. Behind this glorious posing, it was unknown how much blood and sweat he had paid. To sum it up, it could be said that he was getting more dependable. Yes, he could count as a posing hero. Boss, that's about enough. You guys should come as well. I feel bad being the only one in the spotlight. After an incense stick's worth of time, Guoran had killed over 109th rank devil beasts. Long Chen and the others exchanged disdainful expressions. They understood him far too well. He was definitely running out of ammunition, or with his character, he would continue posing until the end of time. Let's go. Long Chen didn't expose him. He led the Dragon Blood Legion forward. Those wood cultivators that had just joined were truly a bit apprehensive, as they had never gone through any battles. Seeing that the other two factions were able to work together so flawlessly, they became even more nervous, afraid of making mistakes. But they saw that the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors were still laughing and talking as they walked forward. It was like they weren't even going to the battlefield. They looked as easygoing as if they were going to a bonfire party. This was precisely the effect Long Chen had wanted. Only when a person could fearlessly advance could they display their greatest strength. Only then could they create the slightest hope of living when surrounded by death. The Dragon Mark warriors had finished their apprenticeships. As for Long Chen, he was at the very front, with Meng Qi and Tang Wan on his arms. The three of them walked forward shoulder to shoulder. When the Dragon Blood Legion reached the attack range of the devil beasts, people were stunned to find that when the devil beasts charged at Long Chen, they would suddenly stiffen and collapse on the ground 10 miles away from him. They would never get back up. With Long Chen at the center, there was a 10-mile space. Whether they were 7th or 8th rank devil beasts, they would all die once they entered. That was a stunning and bizarre scene. It was like the devil beasts were kneeling in front of Long Chen, while Long Chen was the king of devils. Sister Meng Qi, you're amazing, praised Tang Wan'er worshipfully. This was Meng Qi's spiritual domain. Within this domain, with just a thought, she could wipe out the souls of any devil beasts. That was the most terrifying aspect of soul cultivators. Amongst the new generation of disciples, there were also other soul cultivators. But they had all been snatched away by the senior generation disciples. They didn't need those soul cultivators to kill devil beasts on the battlefield. They just needed them to disturb a few 9th-rank devil beasts in battle, while they used that chance to kill them. Meng Qi shook her head. These devil beasts basically have no minds. Their spiritual fluctuations are very strange, and I need to use a large amount of spiritual strength in order to kill them. If they were ordinary magical beasts, my spiritual domain would cover hundreds of miles. Hundreds of miles? Just what kind of terrifying scene would that be? Long Chen asked, then are you using too much soul energy right now? I'm using a bit, but it's not that bad. Hee, that fellow Guoran was so flashy, so as his boss, you have to be even flashier. Meng Qi smiled sweetly at Long Chen, her eyes containing a teasing light, as well as an alluring one. The three of them were laughing and talking as they reached the center of the battlefield. The Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild had already opened up a large space for them. The scene of Long Chen's arrival on the battlefield was too shocking. Boss really is the boss. This is 10 times flashier than mine. Guoran had already jumped off his platform and gone over to Long Chen's side. Long Chen cast a glance at Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen, and they immediately understood. They brought their factions toward the edges, leaving the central area to the Dragon Blood Legion. With the Dragon Blood Legion at the center, the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild were the two wings. When it came to numbers, the 10,000 Insect Guild was clearly lacking, and yet when Wang Zhen summoned his army of millions and millions of insects, it was enough to make up for the difference. Wang Zhen was extremely powerful when put like this. No one knew just how many insects existed in his army. Just on his own, he was able to make up for the difference between in numbers. Long Chen was at the front, with the Dragon Blood Legion being the core. They were enduring the majority of the Devil Beast's attacks. After all, the Devil Beasts had no intelligence, and they simply attacked whoever was closer. "Everyone, get into formation. Meng Qi, help tidy up these devil beasts," said Long Chen. Meng Qi nodded and slowly floated into the air. Her robes billowed around her, while her hair was tightly bound in a high knot. She was like an immortal who had descended from the heavens, giving people an urge to kneel down in worship. Her aura infected the entire world, causing the infernal devil abyss to become a wonderland. She formed hand seals, and when she was finished with the third one, 2 strange runes appeared in her eyes. A terrifying spiritual fluctuation suddenly spread. All devil beasts within thousands of miles collapsed tidily on the ground, leaving behind a few isolated figures. Those figures were 9th-rank devil beasts. Right now, they were holding their heads and wailing in pain. Then they once more charged forward. Meng Qi's attack had eradicated all the weaker devil beasts, causing people's hearts to shake. This attack was absolutely terrifying. Don't just stand there. Hurry and get into formation. Are you daydreaming? Long Chen clapped his hands, rousing the dumbfounded Dragonmark warriors. They hadn't encountered Meng Qi before, so they were completely stunned by her power. They hastily formed their formation. In just half a breath, the formation was completed. It was so fast that Long Chen couldn't find a fault in it. There were 17 figures still moving on the battlefield. 10 of them came for the Dragonblood Legion. Guoran was about to stop them when he was stopped by Long Chen. He allowed the 9th-rank devil beasts to reach the Dragonblood Legion just like that. What is he doing? Hua Xiyu and Wang Zhen's expressions changed. Was he trying to get his disciples killed? Die! Seeing the 9th-rank devil beasts charging toward them, the Dragonblood warriors directly hacked with their sabers. The first 9th-rank devil beast to reach them had a Dragonblood warrior slash at its arm. As a result, with a loud bang, that Dragonblood warrior was sent flying. In terms of power, he was still too weak compared to a 9th-rank devil beast. But his full-strength attack caused that rushing 9th-rank devil beast to pause, and just as it stabilized itself, 2 other Dragonblood warriors slashed their weapons onto its knees. The attack the devil beast was about to unleash was interrupted, and the immense impact to its legs caused it to lose its equilibrium. It fell backward, and just at that moment, a Dragonblood warrior who had long since been waiting unleashed the attack he had been preparing. A huge head soared into the air along with a rain of black blood. That blood splashed the Dragonblood warrior, but he didn't care at all. Instead, he became even more excited, and he let out a heaven-shaking roar. The 10,000 Insect Guild and Heaven Female Alliance's disciples were deeply shaken upon seeing a terrifying 9th-rank devil beast be killed so easily by just the 4 of them working together. Nice! Long Chen gave them a thumbs up. They didn't let down the name of the Dragonblood warriors. Their cooperation had been practically seamless. At this moment, the other 9th-rank devil beasts successively arrived. The ones to kill them were all the ordinary Dragonblood warriors. They had followed Long Chen the longest, so they had the greatest experience and the best cooperation. Long Chen intentionally left the 9th-rank devil beasts to them to show everyone that 9th-rank devil beasts were only at this level. It was also to show the Dragonmark warriors what cooperation could bring about. Do you see? This is the power of a team. One person's strength might not be enough, but by working together you can still cut them down like melons. You all trust each other, but you're lacking the ability to tacitly understand each other. There's no way to teach you that, so you can only try to figure it out on your own on the battlefield. Once you understand, then no matter how many 9th-rank devil beasts arrive, they will only be more points. Brothers, I won't say too many nonsense words. Work hard on cutting them down. Consider yourselves blades that haven't been sharpened. Do your best to temper your sharpness right now, using the corpses of devil beasts as proof of your glory, shouted Long Chen. Just at this moment, another horde of devil beasts charged over. The Dragonblood Legion's warriors let out loud roars and began a crazy slaughter. Long Chen's words had instantly ignited their hot blood. It was even more effective than the previous zither music. Gu Yang, you go help Wang Zhen's side. 9th-rank devil beasts are causing large casualties in his insect army, and if it goes too long, he'll take too many losses. In any case, the Dragonblood Legion was essentially just training. They were tempering their guts and coordination. The only thing to do was to make sure not too many 9th rank devil beasts came at once. And since Gu Yang was a close-range fighter, he would just be standing there bored. It was better for him to go help, and conveniently, he could make a few points. Guoran jumped onto his platform again. His crossbow overlooked the entire battlefield. If anyone needed help, he would kill a 9th rank devil beast with a single arrow. Long Chen stood in the air, looking into the distance while extending his divine sense slowly. In a place his eyesight was unable to reach, he saw a huge black hole. It was tens of thousands of miles wide. Around it, the sky had spiderweb cracks extending out, like a frozen lake that had been smashed with a stone. Spatial cracks continuously formed around it, radiating outward. There were also orderly divine runes constantly working to repair those cracks. But the hole possessed some kind of mysterious energy that was resisting, and the void was constantly being ripped apart and healed, and then ripped apart and healed. There were two energies fighting, both of which transcended human comprehension. Countless devil beasts were wildly charging out of the huge hole. Long Chen noticed that the weaker devil beasts found it easier to pass through. On the other hand, the stronger devil beasts looked like they were being trapped. 9th rank devil beasts looked as if they were being suppressed by some kind of energy from the world when they passed through the channel. During the process of crossing over, their bodies would emit white smoke, and they let out pained howls. So that's what it was. These devil beasts are creatures from outside this world. When they come to the martial heaven continent, they are suppressed by the world's laws. Their power is greatly reduced. No wonder I felt like they weren't as strong as the 9th rank sea demons I fought in the martial heaven searing. Long Chen came to a sudden realization. This had been a source of confusement for him. If they were called 9th rank devil beasts, they should have been on the same level as 9th rank magical beasts and sea demons. Long Chen shook his head and retracted his divine sense. Doing such a distant probing made him feel a wave of exhaustion in his soul. That channel was hundreds of thousands of miles from here. That was the absolute limit of his divine sense, and just maintaining it for a few breaths exhausted a significant amount of his soul energy. The Shen Master said that the devil beasts come from hell, but not the hell that people know. Instead, this hell is the crevice between the netherworld and the martial heaven continent. The higher my cultivation base, the less I understand the world. I just feel more and more minuscule, sighed Long Chen. He took a deep breath and continued examining the depths of the battlefield. A cold smile quickly appeared on his face. Up ahead, somewhere they couldn't see, there were huge earthen walls that slanted toward them. The devil beasts charging through the spatial channel would naturally detour along the earthen walls once they encountered them. The earthen walls led them over in this direction, and looking on the other side, he saw another defensive wall. Seeing Hu Guishan and the others on it, Long Chen was infuriated. He directly took out a photographic jade and recorded everything he saw. Gao Xianyang was too despicable. Not only had he arranged for Long Chen to defend a place with more devil beasts, but he was also guiding the majority of the devil beasts that should have been going to Hu Guishan's side toward him. Fortunately, Long Chen was able to activate photographic jades inside the primal chaos space. That meant that it recorded whatever he saw. Otherwise, he would only be able to accept this. That was because otherwise, once the battle was over, they would erase all the evidence. If you want to play with me, I'll play you to death, swore Long Chen. As time passed, more devil beasts appeared. The Dragonblood Legion had completely gotten used to killing 9th rank devil beasts. The devil beasts were killed one by one, multiplying their confidence and increasing their cooperation skills. Most importantly, with the healing disciples present, they weren't the slightest bit worried about being injured. They could go all out. As for the healing disciples, they quickly adapted to the battlefield. Any time one of the Dragonblood Legion's disciples was injured, they would wave the wooden staff in their hands. Through the wooden staff, their spiritual energy was able to heal others at a long distance. It was quick and effective. The Dragonblood warriors, who had never experienced such treatment, were absolutely delighted. The protection of these healers was definitely a blessing. This ability was only possible due to how much money Long Chen had spent on them. Now that they were on the battlefield, it showed just how good it was to be rich and have the best equipment. The other faction's healing disciples needed to run to the front and heal people personally, and the efficiency of their healing could not be compared to the Dragonblood Legion's healers with their equipment. Currently, the Dragonblood Legion's warriors were in groups of 9. They were able to easily kill low-rank devil beasts, and when 9th-rank devil beasts appeared, the 9 of them would work together, and in just a few breaths, they would be able to kill it. As long as nothing unexpected happened, none of them would even be injured. In fact, because they knew they had the protection of the healing disciples, they began to feel even more at ease and their attacks became more precise. Their power was used completely on offense. Their killing efficiency rose just from that. The Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild also tried this. Hua Xiyu and Wang Zhen would occasionally allow a 9th-rank devil beast to pass so that their disciples could try killing them. Compared to the Dragonblood Legion, for them to kill 9th-rank devil beasts was more difficult. In fact, 2 disciples were killed in the panic. But after trying it several times, they managed to bring the first one down. After killing one, their confidence rose. However, the people capable of killing 9th-rank devil beasts were not very high in number. Later, the 2 factions changed their formations, with their stronger disciples in charge of the 9th-rank devil beasts and the weaker disciples in charge of the 7th and 8th-rank devil beasts. As for the support disciples, they were to prioritize the disciples fighting the 9th-rank devil beasts. It was more effective that way, with the strong against the strong and the weak against the weak. Not all factions could be like the Dragonblood Legion and have a relatively balanced overall combat strength. The Dragonblood Legion's battle style didn't suit them. Boom! The earth shook. Long Chen hastily looked into the distance and saw that the sky had suddenly darkened. The dusky sky had become the black of night. That huge black hole in the distance suddenly expanded, and it was possible to see it with the naked eye from their current position now. Everyone, prepare yourself. A huge sum of points is about to arrive, shouted Long Chen. Within that huge channel, countless devil beasts were pouring out like a flood. Their numbers had multiplied, and the number of 9th-rank devil beasts had also increased. In half an incense stick's worth of time, that flood of devil beasts arrived in front of the Dragonblood Legion. Hua Xiyu and Wang Zhen's expressions changed slightly. There were too many devil beasts now, especially 9th-rank ones. They were unable to kill them all. Li Qi, Ming Yuan, provide assistance for our allies. Zifeng, why don't you go forward and make a name for yourself, said Long Chen. Hearing Long Chen's orders, Li Qi and Song Mingyuan, who had long since been thirsty to get started, split up, going toward the Heaven Female Alliance and the 10,000 Insect Guild. They formed hand seals and then clapped their hands on the ground, shouting at the same time, exploding rock spears. The ground trembled, and countless sharp spears shot out of the ground, stabbing through the devil beasts. Then the yellow runes covering the rock spears exploded, blowing apart the devil beasts. In one attack, they swept away all the enemies within dozens of miles. Even 9th-rank devil beasts were killed with this move. Earthen Thorn Formation. The 2 of them once more shouted, and something similar to brambles grew out of the ground, protecting the outer edges of the 2 factions. The devil beasts would be mangled and lacerated when they crashed onto the brambles. However, they seemed to have no sense of pain, and even when turned into such a bloody state, they continued to crash forward. However, the brambles were tough, slowing their speed. By the time they reached the first line of disciples, much of their flesh stayed behind on the brambles. Even ordinary disciples could easily kill them with an attack. In fact, many of them died within the brambles. Even a 9th-rank devil beast would be badly mangled after charging through the brambles, and several disciples working together could kill it very easily. When the brambles were covered by corpses, the 2 of them would circulate their earth energy, blowing the corpses apart. They then once more summoned a new wave of brambles. With the 2 of them helping, the 2 factions instantly had it much easier. At the same time as Li Qi and Song Mingyuan took action, Yu Zifeng also attacked. His attack allowed everyone to see the terror of sword cultivators. His attack was proof of why sword cultivators were called the #1 attackers amongst cultivators. With a slash of his sword and a flash of sword chi, any devil beasts, even 9th rank devil beasts, were killed in waves. All of them split apart. When Yu Zifeng sent an attack at a 9th rank devil beast, his sword chi was so powerful that at the same time as it killed the 9th rank devil beast, all the devil beasts in a line dozens of miles long were killed as well. Once, a single wave of his sword instantly killed 4 9th rank devil beasts in a line. It almost looked like someone was in a rice paddy, brandishing his blade. But instead of rice, he was harvesting devil beasts. Yu Zifeng is getting stronger and stronger, praised Long Chen. Yu Zifeng was walking even further on the sword Dao. Right now, he was just using ordinary attacks. Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen were filled with shock, but they were also grateful to Long Chen. Gu Yang, Li Qi, and Song Mingyuan were all intentionally allowing 9th rank devil beasts to get by in an injured state. The three of them were essentially giving those points to their disciples. That magnanimity was truly convincing. Long Chen hadn't even ordered them to do that. This was simply the style of the Dragonblood Legion. They never took advantage of others, and when they helped people, they helped them fully. More and more devil beasts appeared, but it only made the disciples more excited. The kill points on their bracelets were constantly climbing. Those fortunate enough to kill a 9th rank devil beast would instantly get 1,000,000 points. Although in the end they would have to distribute those evenly, it still made them incredibly excited. Time trickled by in their nervous and excited states. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. A whole day and night passed, but the devil beasts didn't slow down. Their numbers continued to increase, until finally, Yu Zifeng's attack landed on a certain 9th rank devil beast's body. A large cut appeared in the devil beast's body, but it wasn't fatal, startling Yu Zifeng. It roared, and opening its mouth, a black light suddenly shot toward the Dragonblood Legion. Yu Zifeng's expression drastically changed. "Boss?" called out Yu Zifeng. Long Chen had already appeared at the front of the Dragonblood Legion. Forming hand seals, a blazing flame spear shot out. Boom! The 9th rank devil beast's black light attack exploded upon contact with Long Chen's flame spear. The flames and black light intertwined, forming a region of death. All the devil beasts within that region were blown apart. That space of 100 miles now became empty. There had been over 10 9th rank devil beasts there, and now they were gone. Not even ashes remained. Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen were shocked and afraid. This should be a mid-9th rank devil beast. Zifeng tested its power. Long Chen's expression still didn't change. "All right." Yu Zifeng sheathed his sword and flew over to it. Boom. He had only just gotten close when the ape-like mid-9th rank devil beast beat its chest with its fists and roared. Another black sphere condensed in its mouth, this one even bigger than last time. It shot toward Yu Zifeng. Yu Zifeng suddenly changed directions, dodging it. The black sphere once more collided with a flame spear and exploded, exterminating another mass of devil beasts. This attack scope was even greater, and it created an even larger empty space on the battlefield. The Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Beast Guild's disciples all became afraid. If this attack landed amongst them, it was unknown how many of their corpses would remain. But the Dragonblood Legion's people were still indifferent to this mid-9th rank devil beast, and were still continuing according to their previous tempo. When they looked forward, they saw Long Chen standing at the front of them, and their worries faded. Long Chen was a monster, and he was still as indifferent as ever. That gave everyone quite a bit of confidence. The sound of a sword coming out of its sheath rang out. Yu Zifeng was right in front of the devil beast, and he slashed his sword. This time, he was not using his previous easy blow. A terrifying aura appeared in the air, one that made everyone sure this was one of his top moves. His sword landed on the devil beast's chest, leaving behind a large cut. Even its innards appeared, but it didn't die. Yu Zifeng continued, his sword striking like lightning. In an instant, wounds covered its arms, legs, back, and even its crotch. Yu Zifeng's sword speed was just too quick, in an instant unleashing 16 attacks. But the devil beast still didn't die. It roared and crazily attacked Yu Zifeng. But it wasn't able to touch Yu Zifeng's agile figure. It has no fatal weaknesses. Kill it. Long Chen shook his head. High edge slash. Yu Zifeng let out a low cry, and his sword suddenly unleashed swordlight. Whistling similar to a dragon's cry rang out. With a cold flash, his sword fell. A ray of light created a long ditch in the ground. The mid-9th rank devil beast lay at the end of it. Its body shook for a moment and then it stopped moving. Then a breath later, its body slowly separated into two and fell to the ground. Everyone be careful. Devil beasts with runes on their forehead are mid-9th rank devil beasts, warned Long Chen. It was hard to tell the difference between it and the other 9th rank devil beasts they had been killing. Its aura was similar, and its shape was similar. The only difference was that there was a mark on their foreheads. If people treated a mid-9th rank devil beast as an ordinary one, they would be doomed. Such terrifying devil beasts were so strong that even the Dragonblood warriors wouldn't be able to endure their attacks. Even Yu Zifeng needed to use his full power to kill one of them. From this, it could be seen just how terrifying they were. Another mid-9th rank devil beast, cried Guoran. He intentionally shot a golden arrow at its head, and it exploded on the outside, only injuring it. Mid-9th rank devil beasts had even greater defenses. Guoran's arrows were able to easily kill ordinary 9th rank devil beasts, but they were unable to do much to them. The second mid-9th rank devil beast was also killed by Yu Zifeng. He then began to intentionally pick out the mid-9th rank devil beasts. But after killing 4 of them, Long Chen frowned. If this continued, it would be too taxing on Yu Zifeng's spiritual yuan. It had to be known that Yu Zifeng followed the Sword Dao with all his heart. He had abandoned his power as a celestial, making his spiritual yuan very limited. Furthermore, he was unable to recover as quickly as those with heavenly Dao runes. Such fierce killing with no breaks was only bearable for so long. Wild, your turn, said Long Chen. Nice. Wild excitedly charged forward, his body exploding in size. A 30-meter giant appeared on the front line. His spiked club also transformed with his body, becoming absolutely enormous. As he ran forward, the entire battlefield shook. Taste my club. Bang. Everyone was shocked to see a terrifying mid-9th rank devil beast being smashed apart with a single swing of Wild's club. How terrifying! They looked at the giant Wild with absolute shock and horror. This kind of terrifying power matched with such a terrifying heavy weapon is practically perfect, thought Long Chen to himself. Wild repeatedly smashed his club, like a giant god charging through the devil beasts. Even though countless devil beasts surrounded him, he didn't care. A swing of his club cleared the area for him. Whether they were ordinary or mid-9th rank devil beasts, being struck meant death. Even just touching the club meant death. In front of Wild, these devil beasts were as weak as cabbage. Perhaps only Long Chen has the qualifications to have such terrifying monsters as followers, muttered Huaxiyu. First, Guoran had stunned everyone, and then Meng Qi's soul arts had shaken them all. After that, Gu Yang, Song Mingyuan, and Li Qi had all demonstrated great power and fierceness. She didn't feel any one of them to be weaker than herself. As for when Yu Zifeng had attacked, she had been completely shocked. That terrifying sword cultivator possessed an aura that made her heart shake. He was an existence she couldn't possibly fight. Just as she thought Yu Zifeng was the strongest person in the Dragonblood Legion, Wild appeared. She finally realized no one was the strongest. There was always someone stronger. Even those terrifying mid-9th rank devil beasts were killed easily. This kind of power far surpassed the scope of her understanding, the understanding of someone claimed to be a heavenly genius. While surrounded by the devil beasts, Wild roared and the runes on his wolf club lit up. He smashed it over. The ground exploded, and a powerful chi wave blew apart those devil beasts. 100-mile area was cleared of devil beasts. The devil beasts farther back were sent flying, and even the distant disciples felt a fierce astral wind blow by, which felt like knives against their skin. He actually learned how to use technique. Long Chen was incomparably shocked. For someone with Wild's intelligence to learn such a thing, perhaps only the Xiantian catalog was capable of such a heaven-defying miracle. Wild was like a giant god amongst the devil beasts. He charged wherever he wanted, completely unstoppable. But the number of mid-9th rank devil beasts gradually grew to the point that Wild was only able to stop the majority of them. A few weren't drawn to him and arrived at the Dragonblood Legion. Even as Yu Zifeng once more went all out to kill them, more fish slipped past the net. Long Chen grandly bowed to Meng Qi and Tang Wan'o, solemnly saying, "The heavens have let loose a calamity onto the human world. Please, fairies, help eliminate these devils, purify the world of their evil. Even at this time, you still can't be normal." Meng Qi rebuked Long Chen before she reached for her hair knot. Her long hair cascaded down. At the same time, phoenix cries rang out. Two 300-meter rainbow-colored lights appeared in the air, flying back and forth. Their light was divine, as if true phoenixes had descended upon the world. Phoenix plume falling rain. Meng Qi formed hand seals, and the phoenix lights disappeared, replaced with a pair of feathered wings that covered the sky. The feathers fell to the battlefield, and devil beasts pierced by them couldn't even struggle before losing their lives. This was the attack of a soul item that contained powerful spiritual strength. At the same time as the feathers pierced their bodies, they exterminated their souls. Tang Wan'er also attacked. Wind blades formed a sea in the air, cutting through devil beasts like rotting wood. The current Tang Wan'er was also a rank 5 celestial, and she had also reached the realm of merging with heaven and earth. Her wind blades were hundreds of times stronger than before. 7th and 8th rank devil beasts were instantly killed on contact, while ordinary 9th rank devil beasts were only able to last a few breaths. As for the mid-9th rank devil beasts, they were able to resist, but Tang Wan'er gave them some special treatment. Dozens of large wind blades would surge toward them, and just like the other devil beasts, they would be quickly cut apart and then ground to dust by countless tiny wind blades. Now, 90% of the devil beasts were taken by the Dragonblood Legion. Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen finally sighed with relief. At most, they were only able to handle 2 to 3 mid-9th rank devil beasts at once. Any more and there would be huge casualties. Whenever a situation arose that made them a bit panicked, Meng Qi and Tang Wan'o would send some distant support, allowing them to continue fighting steadily. But suddenly, the space in front of them shook. Long Chen hastily looked toward that distant spatial channel, and his heart sank. Huge concentrated figures were charging out, and they were all 9th rank devil beasts. It was unknown how many of them were at the mid-9th rank. As the devil beasts crazily charged over, Long Chen suddenly saw a distant figure. Countless earthen walls sprang out, and the devil beasts changed direction to come toward Long Chen's side. Killing intent immediately exploded out of Long Chen. "You really are asking for it." Long Chen was completely infuriated. Previously, they had arranged this so that the Dragonblood Legion, Heaven Female Alliance, and 10,000 Insect Guild would take disastrous losses. But now, it was clear they weren't just trying to make them take losses, but to completely destroy them. This was the Infernal Devil Abyss, and experts on the level of elders and above would be heavily suppressed upon entering. The power they could unleash would be less than even a foundation-forging disciple. As a result, this battlefield had always been led by foundation-forging disciples, with the Xiantian Dao sect's elders rarely getting personally involved. As for the amount of monitoring they did, it was limited to the numbers of the devil beasts and the casualties amongst disciples. "They are forcing me." Long Chen's killing intent soared. Since they wanted to play, they could play. At the same time as Long Chen's fury soared, light barriers began to appear in the passage. The Shen Master's voice rang out. "The scope of this eruption is too great, and all channels are to be sealed. All disciples, go all out and kill the devil beasts to win time to activate the stronghold." Hearing this, everyone sighed with relief. In truth, seeing this many 9th rank devil beasts had caused many of them to fall into despair just now. "Long Chen, do you have any opinions?" Suddenly, the Shen Master's voice rang out in Long Chen's head. He was communicating with him spiritually. I have a way to exterminate all these devil beasts without activating the stronghold, said Long Chen after thinking about it for a moment. Oh, wait. The Shen master was a bit startled. He would like to avoid using the stronghold, as it was the Shen Tian Dao sect's final trump card. Once activated, it would use up all the profit the Shen Tian Dao sect had made in centuries, maybe even a millennium. Even a large sect like the Shen Tian Dao sect couldn't bear it. The Dao sect would prefer giving the disciples great rewards for killing the devil beasts rather than activating the stronghold. That would simply be burning money without the slightest benefit. After all, giving points to disciples still counted as raising them. Disciple has already reached the great circle of sea expansion. If I invoke heavenly tribulation, no matter how many devil beasts there are, they will all be killed, said Long Chen. Originally, he had been hoping to save his heavenly tribulation for something big, but recently, there hadn't been anything big. He was now impatient to advance to foundation forging. The fifth star's pill formula still refused to appear. That made him feel a bit panicked. His guess was that he would only be able to obtain the fifth star's formula once he advanced to the foundation forging realm. In the Shen Tian Dao sect, he felt his superiority weakening more and more. His ability to fight across realms was dropping, and just fighting against the same realm took all his power now. Heavenly tribulation? Do you feel that will be enough? The Shen master was surprised by this answer. If others had come up with this idea, he would have immediately refused. It'll definitely be enough, said Long Chen. Only he knew just how terrifying his heavenly tribulations were. In truth, the fact that he hadn't started refining the fifth star made him feel a bit uneasy about passing. All right, if you can stop this sudden turmoil in the abyss, I, Li Tianxian, will owe you a favor, said the Shen master. A favor from the Shen master. Long Chen couldn't help being delighted, as that would be a terrifying trump card. As expected, the Shen master was someone trustworthy who would always return favors. Shen master, you've also seen that those bastards. Long Chen started to probe Shen master's opinion of the plot Gao Xianyang had been using against him. Ignore him for now. I have a great use for him. First, kill these devil beasts here. I can only transport people out once space is stable, said the Shen master. A great use for them? Long Chen was startled. It seemed he was still too immature. Now he felt that it was very likely that the law enforcement hall master's unbridled actions were all intentionally arranged by the Shen master. Long Chen nodded. There were still 100 miles until the devil beasts arrived. There were at least tens of thousands of mid-9th rank devil beasts. Even Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen were feeling despair. Suddenly, huge flame wings appeared on Long Chen's back, and flame runes ignited the air. Long Chen was finally taking action. Like a god of fire and war, he soared to the front. Everyone retreat. Even as he shouted at them, he continued forward. The runes around him grew more concentrated, and explosive rumbling came from his body like the roaring of a volcano. Heaven and earth's energy was pouring toward him. Long Chen's left hand grabbed his right elbow, and a tiny ball slowly appeared in his right palm. That ball had only just appeared when it felt like the world lost all its original color to become fiery red. Quick run! Boss is unleashing a big move, shouted Guoran. The Dragonblood Legion had already begun retreating, but the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild were still a bit dazed. They were just watching as Long Chen flew into the midst of tens of thousands of mid-9th rank devil beasts. Only once Guoran shouted did they react. They hastily retreated. At this time, Long Chen had already reached the center of the crowd of 9th rank devil beasts. The ball in his hand had grown to the size of an apple, which was his current limit. It began to rapidly revolve, causing heaven and earth to rumble. A huge flame hurricane appeared around him, looking like the end of the world. Starfall! Long Chen roared and the hurricane disappeared. The world instantly became calm, as if it had lost all sound, as if space and time were frozen. A small ball of flames left Long Chen's hand and fell to the ground. Once it touched the ground, that small ball instantly exploded, devouring everything around it. Boom! A huge explosion rocked heaven and earth as endless flames rampaged. Even the disciples from the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild that were in the midst of rapidly running were instantly caught up by the flames. Meteorite earthen cover. Song Mingyuan and Li Qi both roared at the same time and slammed the ground with their hands. The ground sank, and a thick cover formed above those disciples. "It's hot!" Startled cries rang out as they felt like they were buns in a steamer. The cover above their heads had already turned red. Song Mingyuan and Li Qi quickly withdrew their defenses once the flames were gone, and everyone flew out to see that the land had turned a charred black. The distant Dragonblood Legion was also looking extremely miserable, with their robes burned badly. But they were strong enough, and they weren't injured. All of them looked over in absolute shock to see a figure still floating in the air. All the devil beasts within thousands of miles around him had been killed. This is being a true badass. "In comparison, I'm just an actor acting badass," said Guoran worshipfully. There was always a great difference between being badass and being a poser acting like a badass. This terrifying attack power was something none of them had ever witnessed. They had never even heard of such a stunning thing. It was too powerful. Long Chen looked at his own hand with some disbelief. His palm was cracked and charred. But he didn't mind. This was the limit that he could control right now. Starfall's power was actually even greater than this, but if he increased it any more, he wouldn't be able to bear it. This was another reason why he greatly wished to advance to foundation forging. Starfall was practically a divine magical art. Its power was limitless. It was just up to how much flame energy Long Chen could bear. Long Chen clenched his right hand, and a charred layer of skin fell off. In less than half a breath's time, his right hand was as good as new. However, it's also a bigger spender. At my current level, I can only use it twice. But its power is such that I could definitely kill whoever I wanted. Long Chen laughed wickedly. Suddenly, he turned around and shouted, "There are still a few leftovers. It's the last chance to get so many points, so work hard. There's no more easy work in the future." Long Chen's attack had been absolutely terrifying. It had killed 99% of all the mid-9th rank devil beasts. In the distance, there were less than 100 9th rank devil beasts left. The path behind the devil beasts had been blocked, and their numbers had dropped precipitously. There was also no need to guard the wall. They could go out and slaughter the rest of them. The remaining devil beasts were quickly tidied up. At this moment, Long Chen looked at his bracelet and saw there was no longer any number on it. There was just a strange symbol. This bracelet was only able to count up to 1 billion. The 9th rank devil beasts he had killed before numbered over 40,000, with each one of them being worth 1 million points. As for mid-9th rank devil beasts, no value had been publicly announced. But even if they were worth the same as ordinary 9th rank devil beasts, this one attack had caused his points to skyrocket. After an incense stick's worth of time, the remaining devil beasts were all killed. But roars and booming still rang out in the distance. The others clearly hadn't finished fighting yet. The Dragonblood Legion's warriors were filled with pride. They were the ones to kill their devil beasts first. In truth, they didn't even realize that this place they were defending had pulled in over a third of all the devil beasts. The remaining devil beasts were split up between the senior disciples as well as the Divine Beast Mansion, Hegemon Hall, and Flame Gate. The Dragonblood Legion's pride was fully deserved. After another incense stick's worth of time, the distant roaring finally came to a stop. Everything was silent. At this time, the badges on their waists lit up. The light enveloped them and took them back to the inner sect plaza. Once they arrived, the Dragonblood Legion, Heaven Female Alliance, and 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples jumped in shock. They saw that the number of inner sect disciples had instantly dropped by quite a bit. To be more specific, over half the Divine Beast Mansion, Hegemon Hall, and Flame Gate's disciples hadn't returned. The ones who had were covered in blood, and some only had half their bodies left. When those people saw the Dragonblood Legion and the others, their expressions completely changed. They found that their numbers had essentially not dropped at all. "You definitely cheated," roared one of the Hegemon Hall's disciples. "You really are like a wild dog." Guaran glared at that person icily. All disciples are to return to their headquarters to rest. Specialized healing experts will come over to help you recover. Your battle ends here, said Li Changfeng. Just as everyone was scattering with different thoughts in their heads, Meng Qi suddenly cried out, "Where is Long Chen?" Long Chen was naturally still in the infernal devil abyss. At this time, he was near the entrance to the spatial channel inside. This huge black hole channel was like a gaping maw trying to devour the entire world. Are you confident? This is a special place, and stronger experts are suppressed. If something happens to you, I can't save you. Don't carelessly play with your life. The Shen Master's voice rang out in his head. It's fine, I have experience, said Long Chen. Of course he had experience. He had used his heavenly tribulation to con countless powerful enemies. His experience told him that every time his heavenly tribulation appeared, it would first exterminate the others before moving to destroy him. Before those fellows died, his tribulation wouldn't end. Having been going through tribulation since advancing to blood condensation, he was definitely a pro at passing tribulations. The light barriers ahead of him were constantly shuddering as they were impacted by some kind of energy. Cracks were starting to appear on them. Please keep disciples secret, said Long Chen. Don't worry, this matter will not reach another person's ears. The only one in the infernal devil abyss now is you, said the Shen Master. Then I'll start now. Long Chen closed his eyes. His 4 stars slowly revolved, and his 4 chi seas looked as if they were boiling. Boundless spiritual yuan surged through his body. Long Chen was about to attack the Foundation Forging Realm. Because he had no Dantian, he was unable to use his Dantian to attack the barrier. Right now, what he was relying on were his body's 108,000 acupuncture points. This was something he had suddenly comprehended when advancing to see expansion. These acupuncture points were places that could store his divine runes and when the time came, his spiritual yuan. Normally, they were only used for activating magical arts or battle skills. But now Long Chen was blazing an alternate path, using the 108,000 acupuncture points as his Dantian. He fully activated them, pouring the energy of his 4 Cs into them. Each acupuncture point began to expand as he poured in spiritual yuan, and as a result, heaven and earth began to rumble. Boom! Suddenly, the final light barrier in front of him broke, and a veritable endless wave of devil beasts charged out. It was like a black tide pouring toward him. Long Chen didn't make any movements. His 4 chi Cs were gushing with energy, and his 108,000 acupuncture points were fully activated. The sky turned dark. This time, it was true darkness, so dark that you couldn't see your fingers even if you waved them in front of your eyes. Boundless tribulation clouds covered this entire world. It was like the apocalypse had come. Lightning began to flash within the tribulation clouds. At the same time, a terrifying pressure that caused heaven and earth to quiver descended. Long Chen took a deep breath. He could feel that the tribulation this time was terrifying to an unprecedented level. Even before it descended, the pressure it unleashed made it hard for him to breathe. At this time, a translucent figure stood on a distant wall in the infernal devil abyss, looking in Long Chen's direction. This was the Shen Master. However, it wasn't his true body, but a wisp of his divine will. As the suppression from this place was too great, his true body was unable to enter, and he was only able to use this method to keep an eye on Long Chen. This is an apocalyptic tribulation, a heavenly tribulation only divergence will undergo. It only contains a will to destroy, without the slightest life energy, muttered the Shen Master. Even for the Shen Master, this was his first time seeing a divergent undergoing tribulation. It was an extremely rare thing, as such apocalyptic tribulations were normally only ever recorded in legends. Only a few people had ever seen them. Within the endless tide of devil beasts, the majority had reached the 9th rank, and a third of those were at the mid-9th rank. Most terrifying of all, some of these 9th rank devil beasts had scales and powerful auras. They were actually the unprecedented late 9th rank devil beasts. Break! Long Chen suddenly roared, and his spiritual yuan detonated within his 108,000 acupuncture points. His acupuncture points rapidly expanded and a cracking sound rang out. It was like something had broken within Long Chen's body. A terrifying aura soared into the sky. Within that darkness, a sea of lightning suddenly appeared. The sea of lightning was filled with lightning runes, and one by one, they fell. They automatically exploded amongst the devil beasts. These devil beasts were innately weak to this kind of heavenly tribulation. They exploded along with the lightning runes. All the ordinary 9th rank devil beasts were unable to endure it. Mid-9th rank devil beasts could only last for a few seconds, while late 9th rank devil beasts with their powerful scales were still able to last 3 to 5 breaths. The Sea of Lightning was 10,000 miles wide, covering this entire passage. The endless tide of devil beasts was destroyed without even getting a chance to approach Long Chen. While his body was bathed in lightning, a 30,000-meter lightning dragon appeared behind Long Chen. It crazily devoured all the lightning runes around him. So that's what it was. The Xian master suddenly realized how Long Chen was able to control tribulation lightning. His lightning was all gathered like this. Lei Long was like a magical beast that hadn't eaten anything in 10,000 years. It crazily devoured the lightning runes. This time, the lightning tribulation was extremely powerful. Just the first wave was already these exploding lightning runes. Just one of them could instantly kill a sea expansion expert. The Xian master also realized why Long Chen was so sure he could block the devil beast army. Such a terrifying lightning tribulation wasn't something a human could pass. Heavenly tribulation was 90% destructive and 10% life-giving. As long as you understood how to grasp that bit of life energy, acting in tune with the will of the heavenly tribulation, the chances of passing it were very high. But when it came to Long Chen's tribulation, it didn't care if he acted in tune with it or not. It simply wanted to destroy him, giving him no chance at all. This was like how a mortal was able to swim in water. It was because they had time to breathe. Heavenly tribulation was the same. Grasping the bit of life energy was equivalent to winning breathing room. You wouldn't drown. But Long Chen's annihilation tribulation gave him no breathing room at all. It existed purely to kill him. However, Long Chen was still calmly standing there. He was absolutely fine as he allowed the lightning runes to explode on his body. His physical body was extremely powerful. When it came to just his physical body, he was even stronger than ordinary Jade Core experts. Other than wild, his physical body could be rated as number 1. Even as the Sea of Lightning continued, those devil beasts continued to charge through the channel without a thought. As a result, however many came was however many died. They acted fearlessly like mindless puppets. Time passed bit by bit. Lei Long was constantly growing stronger, but curiously, the heavenly tribulation still maintained this phase without growing stronger. Long Chen smiled in derision. The tribulation was waiting. It was waiting until there was no one else interfering to completely destroy him. He had figured out its methods. If he hadn't heard that heavenly tribulation was a manifestation of the heavenly Daos and that no one could control it, he would suspect that someone was intentionally using heavenly tribulation to kill him. Even after a day and a night, the devil beasts continued to pour out from the channel, shocking even the Xian master. The eruption this time was too terrifying and had far surpassed the last record. If they had used the stronghold to kill them all, then the price would have gravely harmed the core of the Shintian Dao sect. Therefore, it could be said that Long Chen was making a huge contribution to the Shintian Dao sect. Finally, after several more hours, it was unknown how many devil beasts had been destroyed. In any case, the ground was covered in broken bits of their corpses, and no more came out of the spatial channel. The Sea of Lightning in the air seemed to sense something, and an even more terrifying pressure crashed down. Heaven and earth rumbled, and the void split open as countless figures descended like huge mountains. These were huge lightning monsters formed entirely of lightning runes. They were several miles long and extremely lifelike. With heaven-shaking roars, they charged at Long Chen. There were all kinds of them: eagles, elephants, dragons, phoenixes. Their huge figures were even more powerful than those late 9th rank devil beasts. They're finally here. Then let's fight. Wings appeared behind Long Chen, as well as his divine ring. For stars revolved in his eyes. Boom. Long Chen sent a punch at the first lightning monster. Now, spiritual yuan existed within all 108,000 of his acupuncture points, and he felt like his body was brimming with unprecedented power. This was an all-out attack from him, and this lightning monster was blown apart, transforming into lightning runes. What fierce energy! But I can't feel his immortal platform condensing. Where does his power come from? Even the Xian Master's expression changed. The Foundation Forging realm referred to condensing the immortal platform above the Qi Sea. Using one's essence, Qi, and spirit, the goal was to condense your own original rune. That rune was the foundation of the immortal platform. Then you would continue condensing runes on top of it, and once you condensed the 9th one, they would transform into one again. That would bring you to the first heaven stage of Foundation Forging. The second heaven stage involved condensing 8 such runes. The third heaven stage required condensing 7, etc. They condensed higher and higher, creating your immortal platform. In the immortal era, that platform would be your foundation for becoming a god or immortal. But the Xian Master was unable to sense the existence of Long Chen's immortal platform. Nor did he see his original rune appear on his forehead. However, his combat power was dozens of times greater than before. That was a clear sign that he had advanced to the Foundation Forging realm. Even the Xian Master was unable to tell what was happening. Long Chen repeatedly struck down lightning beasts with his fists. With his current power, none of them were able to take a single blow. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.